You can all rise for the pledge, please. Katie, could you lead us in the pledge?
Yes.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moment of silence for the men and women in the armed forces, our first responders, our veterans, those fighting the good fight in Ukraine, and those suffering from military conflict in the Middle East, and State Police Officer Pelletier, who died on duty. Thank you. Read the creed.
Okay. The American's Creed by William Tyler Page. I believe in the United States of America as a government of the people, by the people, for the people, whose just powers are derived from the consent of the governed, a democracy and a republic, a sovereign nation of many sovereign states, a perfect union, one and inseparable, established upon those principles of freedom, equality, justice, and humanity, from which American patriots sacrificed their lives and fortunes. I therefore believe it is my duty to my country to love it, to support its Constitution, to obey its laws, to respect its flag, and defend it against all enemies. Thank you. Thank you. Sal.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Peter and Elizabeth Tyrell.
Just when you get up there, please give your name and address.
Certainly. My name is Peter Elizabeth Terrell. My address is 47 New Harrington Road in Torrington, Connecticut. I stand here in support of allowing, go ahead.
Can you hear? What?
Public comment, people from out of town to speak? It is?
I think so.
It was according to the website.
Okay, just
I,
yeah, because we haven't done that in the past.
Sure.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I stand here before you in support of allowing drag performances on public grounds. It is my sense that drag is not the issue. USO tours and performances by servicemen and women have performed drag on public grounds and facilities. The problem is the need for something new to scare people with, like hate bait. It used to be African Americans, Asian Americans, Muslim Americans, women, and now the thing that they can hate and rally against is anything LGBTQ or queer. I came to New Milford for the first time ever this past weekend to attend Pride. On the way home, my wife and I began to look at real estate. This is a lovely town, amazing shops, and a welcoming atmosphere. We're really impressed. If we let the bigots decide freedom of speech and the haters decide who has the freedom to assemble, that this lovely welcome town will become an unwelcome place of hatred and intolerance. And I believe, from my limited experience of New Milford, but I believe New Milford is better than that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Lori Gregg.
Good evening.
Evening.
You need my address?
Name and address, please.
Lori Gregg, 137 Hassick, Hassig Road in Torrington. I come to you tonight as I am in favor of allowing freedom of actors and performers here in New Milford, regardless if they are part of the queer community or not. We are a nation of liberty for all. We have the right to express ourselves. We don't need to agree or even like some of the things that are said, but we should allow those who wish to speak or perform the right to do so. We've been taught through school, home, religion, to treat others the way we want to be treated without judgment or condemnation. This is called respect and must be shown to everyone. I would ask that you not make a decision based on a discrimination. New Milford's a great town with much to offer to their residents and to their tourists. Please let New Milford continue to be recognized as a town of intelligent and fair-minded people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Adam Murphy.
Hello, Adam Murphy. I live at 78 Chapin Road, New Milford. Hello, Town Hall, Mayor Bass, and fellow residents of New Milford. I'm Adam Murphy, a resident of New Milford and the co-founder of New Milford Pride. Our group was started in 2021 with the goal of creating community for LGBTQIA+ citizens. In addition to Picnic for Pride, we run events year-round, like kayaking, our annual Earth Day park cleanup, hiking, and my favorite, our annual Thanksgiving potluck at the Max. We're also visible in the community by participating in Trunk or Treat, New Milford's anti-bullying event, New Milford Kind, and most recently at the library's Global Community Engagement Day. We were supposed to have a tremendously talented performer for our event. Producer and New Milford resident Brendan Gall, who facilitated booking Peaches for Picnic for Pride, stated that, quote, Peaches was the star and winner of the Food Network's Worst Cooks in America, rated PG, also hosts a family-friendly brunch event at Macy's at 10 a.m. on Sunday mornings in New York City, and is currently on the cover of Time Out New York in a story about finding chosen family, which is what so many LGBTQIA+ youth need. Sunday night, she performed at Studio 54 to a high-priced, sold-out crowd, end quote. As a professional, Peaches has the ability to tailor her performance to the venue and occasion, which was prepared to deliver a spectacular G-rated show. I regret canceling Peaches' performance, but I felt I needed to so we could have a safe event. In light of this, especially after the outpouring of love and support we received both online and at the picnic, I believe there's an opportunity here for New Milford as a community to grow together. I see this as a moment where New Milford Pride can do more outreach and public education so we can help people understand the LGBTQIA+ community and become allies. I wanted to thank Mayor Bass for his continued support of New Milford Pride. I hope next year and for years to come, we can all meet again on the green with a better understanding of each other and more love in our hearts. If you'd like to contact us, you can find us on Facebook or Instagram as New Milford Pride, or you can email us at newmilfordctpride@gmail.com. Thank you for your time, Council.
Thank you, Adam.
John Cross.
Hello, everyone. John Cross from 16 Old Stone Road in Gaylordsville, just outside New Milford. And I want to thank everyone for the chance to speak here this evening. I'm talking to show my support for the New Milford Pride Committee and the inclusion of drag performers at New Milford Pride after the recent incident that led to the cancellation of the performer arranged to be at this past weekend's event. Firstly, I have to say that Saturday's event was absolutely wonderful. Not sure who here in the room attended, but if they did, you would have seen a community-driven, family-friendly, joyous event with plenty of happy families and children in attendance. It supported the LGBTQIA+ small businesses in our town and the various organizations and people who work tirelessly in education, healthcare, social services, and more to make all our citizens, families, and their children feel safe. All there to also let the LGBTQIA+ townspeople know that the support is there for them as well. It was absolutely fantastic. It was also good to see that none of the threatened protest was anywhere to be seen. We don't know if it would have happened or not because the drag performer was canceled, sadly, but prior to the event. I want to, where possible, keep this positive and supportive because I don't 100% know what happened between the hateful campaign that began in a New Milford Facebook group, started, of course, by an anonymous person with a fake name and a photo, and the final decision to cancel the drag performer. We don't know who was involved in that decision or what threats, if any, were actually made. I want to point out also that 97% of the responses that I got to any of my Facebook posts and in person at the event on Saturday were resoundingly positive, leading me to believe that the issue, if there truly was one, was a vocal but small minority of our citizens and possibly leaders online, but not in person. I don't know what we do about hate, but I do know that what we can do about ignorance. We can start to solve that with education and trust. From the few negative messages I've seen, it appears to be the fact that people seem to equate drag performers with more adult burlesque performers and believe them to not be family friendly. Trust in New Milford Pride and their organizers should be easy. Anyone who has attended any of their events know without a shadow of a doubt that everything they do has families and the community in mind. There was absolutely nothing at the picnic on Saturday that would lead anyone to believe that any intended drag performer would have been nothing if not completely in keeping with the sense of joy, community, and family that the rest of the event was. In terms of education, while we can't force anyone to educate themselves, I would strongly encourage that at the very least our elected officials learn the difference between a family-friendly drag performance and any other kind of adult performance, drag or otherwise. I would also strongly urge you all to attend the Stonewall Speakers event at New Milford Senior Center on June 20th. As leaders of this beautiful and lovely town that grows more diverse, rich, and wonderful by the day, it is your jobs to represent everyone. And so a little extra learning about how best to be an ally to the LGBTQIA+ community would be a perfect way to start. And if a drag queen performer is part of the festivities next year, then it would receive the full backing of our local government. I just want to say thank you again for all that you do. I recognize all that you do, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hunter Sabia.
Good evening. My name is Hunter Sabia. I live at 102 Aspetuck Ridge Road. I want to start by saying I hate public speaking, so please bear with me as I stumble my way through this. Tonight was not initially marked on my calendar to speak, but an inner voice told me to step forward. It's a voice I've listened to, especially in times of uncertainty. You see, despite being straight, I find myself deeply connected to the LGBTQIA community through numerous family members. My brother, my aunt, my niece. In the past few months, I've endured a personal struggle that pushed me to the brink. It wasn't external voices deeming me worthless, but rather the relentless assault of my own mind. It stemmed from imbalance by lowering medication, birth control, unleashing a torrent of overwhelming thoughts. I reached a point where I was no longer tethered to life's anchor. I vividly remember a moment when a reckless truck veered into my path, and instead of saying stop or reacting, I was about to let it happen. That's how bad it got. In the darkness, though, I found glimmers of light in the most unexpected places, right here in New Milford. It's the casual chatter with a stranger at the dollar store, or the friendly wave from one of our local police officers. These seemingly mundane interactions breathe life back into my weary soul, and it's been a journey. Reflecting on my own journey, I can't help but empathize with the members of the drag community and the lovely people in the LGBTQIA+ community who face prejudice and rejection on a daily basis. To be told you're unwelcome simply for existing is a cruelty beyond comprehension. I can't even imagine, because what I went through from my own mind and what they go through on a daily basis, I just can't imagine. So tonight, I stand not to change the hearts of the intolerant, but to offer solace to those who feel ostracized and alone. New Milford is home to countless compassionate souls. I've seen all of your posts, I've seen you at events, and you're all wonderful in your own right, so I thank you for that. New Milford embraces diversity with open arms. I've been to so many events that everyone is just so loving and so compassionate. I went to the New Milford Pride as a booth this weekend, and I can't tell you how much that did for me and my soul. I want to continue being here to be a part of this community. So all I have to say is you are cherished, you are valued, and you are not alone, even if you feel like it at your darkest times. Keep shining your light even when you just can't see it anymore, for there are allies among us ready to lift you up and stand by your side. You have a safe haven in our hearts, and together we will continue to affirm your right to exist and thrive. And I went a little off the speech because I'm very nervous, so thank you so much. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Brenton and Kate Bennett.
Hello. Brenton and Kaylee Bennett, 35 Legion Road, New Milford. I'm not nearly as well prepared, as well spoken as everybody who's come before me. I just wanted to take the time to come out here to show my support for New Milford Pride, We were there with our 2 children on Saturday. It was a lovely event. All of the hatred that we were afraid of, all of the protests we were afraid of, they didn't happen because those that were saying it were bullies online, hiding behind fake profiles and fake pictures. I know that our town is better than that. And as a parent, I like the opportunity to be able to decide what is appropriate for my children. I don't like other people and loud voices online to make that decision for me. So I just wanted to come up here, show my support for everybody in the community, show my support for New Milford Pride. We've lived here, we work here, we volunteer in this town, and we really, really, really love this place, and we want everybody kind of to stand there and not bow down to the hatred that we saw.
And as a perspective of a parent, I know a lot of the commentary online was concern for the children in the town. And we have 2 wonderful children, very unique. One of our children in particular found solace in the group on the green on Saturday. And we moved here 6 years ago. Besides the occasional bear, we have found nothing but a supportive community. And I got to watch in real time my son realize that bullies, they grow up, they live on, and sometimes they still win.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I apologize if I mispronounced, but is it Cackland Kelly?
Brenton and Kaylee.
No, someone else after you. You're way off. I did okay with you. I did okay with you.
Nobody ever knows how to pronounce my name
Apologies.
correctly. It's okay. My name is Caitland Kelly. I live at 59 Kelly Road, and I've been a lifelong resident of this town. Though that's not entirely true in the sense that I left to go to medical school on some scholarships from the Thrift Mart of New Milford, as well as the ambulance company. I have volunteered my entire life in this town. I am the daughter of an Army woman and a business owner in this town, and I am standing in support of not only New Milford Pride, but as having drag performers on our green. They are costumes. We know the difference between costumes and real life, and if you have any questions, we are an open organization. I want to challenge everybody in this room, and especially the members on the town council, to take a look at the online activities that your citizens deal with on a regular basis. I practice medicine here in town. I've been practicing medicine since 2010. I teach at Yale about how to prevent suicide. You guys are not preventing suicide if you allow bullying to go unchecked, and I would like to see this person held accountable. And I'd like to know what the town's going to do next to prevent other instances of online bullying, not just for the adults, but the kids in town. So thank you for your time, and thank you for all your hard work. I know y'all don't have an easy job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pat Nicholas. Nicholas.
I'm the Reverend Dr. Pat Nicholas, 6 Lamplighter Lane. I'm a retired clergy person and a member of the First Congregational Church, United Church of Christ, and the chairperson of our Open and Affirming initiative. In our denomination, making the declaration of being open and affirming means that by a vote of the entire congregation, we pledge to not only welcome and accept, but to affirm all people as children of God. That welcome is not limited to, but definitely includes members of the LGBTQIA+ community. As far as the issue of the drag queen performance at Pride Picnic, men dressing up as women for the purpose of entertainment goes back to ancient Greece. It's nothing new. What most concerns me is the vitriol and hate that came to the surface right here in New Milford against a peaceful group of citizens who simply wanted to provide a family-friendly event for 3 hours on a Saturday afternoon. If you have attended the Pride Picnic, you would know, as others have said, it is a delightful afternoon celebrating the wonderful diversity of God's creation. There's games, music, vendors, and information. It's no different than any other festival or community event that's held on our green. If, for whatever reason, someone may not want to participate, no one is forced to attend. I have read that some people are concerned about the dangers to our children. Once again, if that's your concern, don't go, but don't threaten and harass those who do. And I am sure What I am sure of is that a drag queen performance is of no danger to anyone. But what is much more harmful to our children is the threat of protests and violence against people who are merely trying to freely live their lives faithful to the persons God created them to be without the threat of violence. It was a sad day to see this kind of hate openly displayed in our town. And it's a day that I hope won't be repeated. And I know that we have the support of our mayor and our council in this. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Danielle Burgess. Danielle?
Hi, good evening. Danielle Burgess, 8 Sherwood Drive, here in New Milford. I was here a couple of meetings ago to talk about the forever chemicals and PFAS contamination that we know we have in our town. How widespread, still to be determined. I recently had my water tested per the advice here of the council, which I had to pay for. Not inexpensive to find out that my water on my community well is over the federal allowance for clean drinking water, and now Connecticut. To my understanding, there are over 500 residents on Sunny Valley Tax District wells, which I've yet to locate. I'm not sure why records aren't a little bit easier to find online, but it's my understanding there's 5 wells that are under the tax district. I've yet to hear back from the head of that council, who typically responds very quickly when there's money owed. When I asked about who's managing the water and if they have partnered with our local water facility, I have yet to get a response. That's of concern. So while we talked about us as residents being responsible to take our own action, I did walk away from that meeting pretty discouraged that we didn't have more support from the council and from you, Mayor Bass. This is maybe still a very new topic, but a very concerning topic. Whether we own the water or not, I think we have an obligation to the community to come together, fight the state, and get federal funding while it's available to us. That's what I'm in pursuit of as an individual, and education in the community. As I'm learning, I'm sharing. Some people think it's insane. It's not a big deal. PFAS is everywhere. It's not that, it's something else that's gonna kill us. I don't really like to take that position. I'd like to have that choice. And clean water is something that we have prided ourselves on in this country, and it is an issue nationally. I'd love to see us as a town and the community that we all speak so highly of really come together and fight that, whether it's our responsibility or not. It's a public health issue. That really concerns me as a homeowner, as a local resident, for my own health and for the people in my community that I really care about. So I'm going to continue to try and gather information, but you know, I'm a breadwinner. I pay my own bills. I don't have anybody else supporting me. It takes a lot of time to do this research. It takes a lot of time to fight the fight when there's only a few of us fighting. So we would really love for this to be a hot topic. I know it's on the agenda, and we're grateful for that, and we hope that it's going to continue to be important and become a priority for the council here in the town. We would really appreciate that. I also just really quickly wanted to state that in the last meeting, I had personally mentioned that Danbury had just gotten funding to help with their clean water initiative. I did not have knowledge as to whether or not they own their own water. I did not reference whether or not they were private wells, and I believe that was misunderstood. So I just want to clarify that. I do not have all that information. I do now. I did not then, and I did not state that. And if that was misinterpreted, that was not my intent to share misinformation. So I did want to clarify that. I understand they own their own water, and they're spending a lot of money to clean it up. Whether or not we own ours, we still have a town here we need to support, and a community, and our real estate. That's really important. So I appreciate the time again, and I hope this will continue to be an important topic in the community. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And I don't have more speakers, Mr. Mayor. Okay. Katie?
Move to item 4A and B. I'd like to move to approve the prior minutes and the tax collector.
Second.
Any discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions?
Item 4C, I'd like to move that we approve the following. The Parks and Rec Department requests to accept the following donations. These were all made for the 8 mile and 5K races. $250 O'Brien Insurance, $250 from ZBS Pet Care, which is also known as Candlewood Animal Hospital, $1,000 from O'Keefe Orthodontics, $500 from New Milford Fitness and Aquatics, $250 from Michelle Brown of Valley Vet, $250 from Emmons Tree and Landscaping, $500 from Dawn Howe of Caldwell Banker, $500 from All American Waste, $250 from Yardscapes, $750 from Living Stones Community Church, and $50 from Bright and Early, New Milford. They're requesting that the monetary donations be deposited in the Recreation Revenue Account, number 104-50500-44709, and Parks and Rec would like to thank every single one of these donors for their great generosity. Thank you.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
And item 4D, I'd like to move that we allow the New Milford Police Department to accept a donation of $1,000 from the Roger Sherman chapter of the National Society of the DAR, which will be used for their K-9 unit.
Second. Thank you, Mayor. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Great, thank you. Item 5 is Amy Bethridge.
Amy?
There you are.
Yep.
Just real quick, not everyone in the audience knows the process here, and I know some people might have wanted to hear something tonight. They're still sitting here, so it may be an explanation of how it works that we don't respond. Because,
okay.
You know, in fairness.
Right.
In fairness.
So for those that are new to the process, when you do come up for public participation, Robert's rules that we do have, we do not answer back as the council. You do take in public input, but there's no reply back. It's just taking in the input. So.
It's not that we don't want to
Amy?
talk to you.
Right. Thank you, Alex. Amy?
Hi, everyone. I'm Amy Beth G. I'm the Director of Health for the Housatonic Valley Health District. And, you know, in light of a lot of the discussion that's been going on recently in this area regarding PFAS, there's some information tonight that I want to clear up, and then there's some information tonight that I just want to share some additional education about, and then connect with some folks after the meeting as well, because I think there are some discussions to be had. Okay, so just a little bit of a history. So Clean Water Act in Connecticut. Connecticut has a lengthy history as a national leader in water quality management. Though the state has cleaned up a lot of problems to date, there are a lot of issues that still need to be fully addressed, and these are listed below. Things like hypoxia in Long Island Sound, combined sewage overflows, groundwater contamination, nutrient pollution, stormwater impacts, legacy toxic pollution projects, and emerging contaminants of concern such as PFAS. And these are a lot of the things that we deal with on the local level a little bit, but really at the state, DPH as well, and DEEP deals with these issues also. So where does our water come from? Drinking water can come from either groundwater sources, so dug, driven, bored, or drilled wells, or surface water sources such as lakes and reservoirs. Approximately 76% of Connecticut's population is served by public water systems that possess the capability to deliver both groundwater and surface water supplies, and 23% of people in Connecticut have their own private well for drinking water. And this source is groundwater for private wells. So public water systems. There are 3 types of public drinking water systems: community water systems, and these systems serve at least 25 residents throughout the year. Non-transient, non-community systems regularly serve at least 25 of the same people over 6 months of the year at places like schools and office buildings. Transient, non-community systems, and these don't meet the definition of a non-transient, non-community water system, such as restaurants, parks, etc. So there's a couple different designations here. DPH's drinking water section regulates all of these systems to assure a safe and adequate supply of drinking water is available. And there's some more information that you can find on these specific types of water systems here at this link. I'll put this PowerPoint on our Housatonic Valley Health District website after tonight, and I'll send it to the town council as well. And this second link below contains information such as system name, cities served by the system, population served, whether the source of the water is groundwater or surface water,
and the contact information and address of the system. It sounds like you're very well educated regarding community systems, but there might be some additional information here as well for you. So public water systems. Is there a way to find out how my public drinking water system is doing? So the best source, we will say, across the board for all public drinking water systems is your water supplier. So Aquarian Water is the public supplier for this portion of the state, and all of those water quality reports can be found here at this link. Community water suppliers are required to send their customers an annual consumer confidence report, so you should be seeing those regularly as well. And if you have any additional questions or are looking for some additional information, you are always welcome to call the Safe Drinking Water Hotline, visit the EPA's websites on drinking water found here, or to contact the CTDPH drinking water section, and I've listed their phone number. So recommended actions for public water systems that have tested for PFAS. There are various different steps that they can take to assess contamination. If water sampling results confirm that drinking water contains PFAS at concentrations greater than the action levels, and now the MCLs, the EPA MCLs, when we're talking about public water systems should quickly undertake the additional sampling to assess the level, scope, and localized source of contaminations and to inform next steps. The next step is to inform, so drinking water systems should promptly provide consumers with information about the levels of PFAS in their drinking water, and this notice should include specific information on the risk to fetuses during pregnancy and infants, breastfed and formula-fed infants from exposure to drinking water with a PFAS contamination above the action levels and MCLs. And then lastly, steps to limit exposure. A number of options are available to drinking water systems to lower concentrations of PFAS in their drinking water supply, and these were some of the remediation options that we had spoken about the last time I was here. So things like activated carbon systems are most commonly used, ion exchange systems, or high pressure membrane systems that function via reverse osmosis. So for private wells, owners with private wells and semi-public wells are responsible for the quality of their water. Testing your private well or semi-public well water provides you with the information on the quality of your water and is the best way to ensure that your water supply is safe for use. We definitely recommend testing, and at the end of this presentation, I'll provide some mechanisms for how we can do that efficiently and in a cost-effective way for this town. And is the best way to ensure that your water supply is safe for use. It can also determine if nuisance contaminants such as iron and manganese, because we want to keep in mind that PFAS is not the only thing we should be testing our wells for, are present and at what levels they are present. Regular testing is important because water quality can change, and routine testing establishes a record of water quality that may help identify and solve future problems. It's very highly recommended to test water quality when buying a home so that you can make an informed decision about your purchase. And beyond that, we recommend testing your water every year. So how to protect your well. You can help protect your private water well by paying careful attention to what you do around your well. I have a link here that links to a DPH form regarding best management practices, and there's a checklist for private wells, and below are some ways that you can protect your drinking water on your property. So making sure that we're locating new wells far away from any potential contamination sources. Hiring a professional to construct new wells or to periodically inspect existing wells, using backflow prevention devices on outdoor hose spigots. I won't go through all of them, but there are a lot of different options here to make sure that you're caring for your property in a way that's not going to impact the quality of your well water. Waste oils, gasoline, not using products like that and putting them down your sink is very important as well. So action level list for drinking water in Connecticut. When testing your water quality, results are compared to drinking water action levels or maximum contaminant levels to determine whether elevations of certain contaminants are present. Drinking water action levels exist for numerous chemicals that have the potential to be found in groundwater and in drinking water. CTDPH develops its drinking water action levels by considering health impacts to the most sensitive and most exposed populations across all stages of development. And they really take into account lifetime exposure when they're setting these drinking water action levels, so not acute exposure. The decision to develop a drinking water action level for any chemical is based on evidence that the chemical has been detected in water, is known or anticipated to be harmful to humans, has sufficient toxicological data available to support development of an action level. And here are all of the drinking water action levels for all of the chemical contaminants that are regulated throughout Connecticut. So as we see, PFAS is on the bottom right, but we also are regulating things like lead, like copper, like manganese, a number of different chemicals that are present in water, but we do not want them to be. But again, there are certain thresholds that are allowable. And here are some others. So now we'll talk about PFAS specifically. So protecting ourselves against PFAS. Unfortunately, we're finding that PFAS is really present in many different types of things that we have throughout our house and that we use on a daily basis. We'll see here listed cell phone, furniture, cleaning products, toilet paper, floss. There's really a lot of different things throughout our homes that unfortunately do have PFAS chemicals in them. So how can I limit my overall exposure to PFAS? The best way to limit your exposure to PFAS is to become knowledgeable about your potential sources of PFAS exposure. We can be exposed to PFAS not only through drinking PFAS-contaminated water, but also through pathways such as eating foods packaged in PFAS-containing materials, using consumer products containing PFAS such as nonstick cookware, stain-resistant carpeting, and water-repelling clothing, and eating foods contaminated with PFAS such as fish and seafood. Nearly everyone has low levels of PFAS in their blood, and these background levels likely come from consumer products and food packaging. Also, a number of studies have detected PFAS in brands of bottled water. So it's another thing to be careful of. So there is some recent legislation that's been passed by Governor Ned Lamont, and this piece of legislation requires manufacturers of products such as apparel, cleaning products, cookware, cosmetics, there's really a lot listed here, to begin labeling items made with intentionally added PFAS within 2 years, and to notify state regulators of their plan to sell those products in Connecticut. Beginning in 2028, the state will ban the sale of any products containing PFAS. It has been indicated, and this is something that they're kind of going back and forth within the Senate right now, that there may be adjustments to this bill to avoid product shortages. Things like affordable nonstick pans may not be available if they're eliminating all of PFAS-containing products. And then we have some new EPA regulations as well. So in April 2024, the Biden-Harris administration issued the first ever national legally enforceable drinking water standard to protect communities from exposure to PFAS. Really the three most notable things in this EPA press release is that the EPA is setting enforceable MCLs at 4 parts per trillion for PFOA and PFOS individually. And this was a change from what we were seeing at about 10 and 16 previously. This standard will reduce exposure from these PFAS in our drinking water to the lowest levels that are feasible for effective implementation. And that's important as well as we're working on some of our remediation strategies. So all public water systems have 3 years to complete their initial monitoring for these chemicals, and they must inform the public of the level of PFAS measured in their drinking water. Where PFAS is found at levels that exceed those standards, systems must implement solutions to reduce PFAS in their drinking water within 5 years. EPA regulations that protect public drinking water systems do not apply to privately owned wells, and this is kind of tricky right now because the messaging that we're working to manage is that Connecticut for private wells is still at those drinking water action levels set by the state, whereas federally for public drinking water, we are listening to those EPA MCLs.
So, Amy, just stop for just a moment, just so the public that's here and watching on the video. So if you have a home and you have your well tested by a legitimate source, which is what they recommend, and it comes in at 6. So according to the Department of Public Health, which oversees all this, that's still okay.
Yes, that's correct.
That's their highest, that's the highest level
10.
for the Connecticut?
No,
10.
10 for private
So
wells.
anything between that 4 and 10 right now is okay for Connecticut.
Parts per trillion.
Parts per trillion, that's correct.
And then, if you don't mind, Amy, so Randy, as far as the municipality, or as far as, I know you can't talk for the district, but if you have groundwater or water that's on private wells that meets the limitation of the Connecticut Department of Public Health, even though it's a little bit higher than the EPA standard for community wells, how does that work?
I don't know how it works because you know as well as I do, you read the same directive that I read.
Yep.
It said the state, I'm sure you have too, Amy, the state said that it doesn't warrant widespread testing at this point. I mean, that's whether it's bureaucratic or not. Right now, that's what the situation is. So there's not a lot you can do vis-a-vis pushing the state to do anything. The state doesn't deal well, no pun intended, with municipalities demanding things, as you know. But the individuals can certainly go to the state, and it's been done here in this town. They can go to the state, get some help. They're gonna have to do their own test, but they might be able to get some help for filtering. I don't know if that's widespread, Amy, or not, but it's happened.
Sure, Amy will talk about that a little bit. But
And right now, that's the only alternative, because the state will not endorse full, as you know, broad spectrum testing. So there's not a lot you can do.
Correct.
Thanks, Amy.
And for reference, here's a chart that compares those drinking water action levels in Connecticut that Connecticut had set previously and that still is in effect for those private wells, and then the new MCLs from the EPA. So how can PFAS affect my health? The main health concerns from ingestion of PFAS compounds for which CTDPH has drinking water action levels come from studies in lab animals, which consistently show effects on liver and immune system and on growth, reproduction, and fetal development. PFAS can also affect the endocrine and hormonal systems and can disturb blood lipids such as cholesterol in lab animals. If your drinking water has PFAS at levels greater than the Connecticut drinking water action levels, and you have been drinking your water or using it in cooking over many years, you may have an increased chance of experiencing health problems. However, it is important to understand that consuming water with PFAS levels greater than those action levels does not mean that health effects will occur in all cases. PFAS are not readily absorbed by your skin, so things like dermal absorption when you're showering, things like that, washing dishes, swimming in water containing PFAS is not a significant source of exposure. So now getting into PFAS investigations. So there are ongoing PFAS investigations in several different towns throughout the state. If a resident detects PFAS at levels above the DPH action levels, currently 10 parts per trillion for private wells, DEEP will conduct a confirmation test at no cost to the homeowner. If the second test confirms the presence of PFAS at a level above those drinking water action levels, DEEP will reach out to all residents with a private well within 500 feet of that residence that had the elevated test to encourage these homeowners to test their private wells. I can tell you that did happen in one instance because HVHD also sent letters to encourage those members to, those residents rather, to test their well as well. If additional residences are found to have elevated test results, DEEP expands their testing radius to include any additional private wells within 500 feet of the homes with elevated results. So it's kind of an iterative approach, and they expand as they find more if necessary. Any homes that record elevated results over the Connecticut drinking water action levels are offered bottled water and remediation treatment free of charge. So current state of PFAS in New Milford. So for private wells, HVHD is informed by DEEP when DEEP is made aware of an elevated PFAS test result in a private well. To date, DEEP and HVHD have been made of only one private well with in a residence with PFAS above the drinking water action level. To date, DEEP and HVHD have been made aware of two private residents with PFAS above the new EPA and MCLs, but they're below the drinking water action level. So that would be if someone was in that 6 range, they're below the 10, but above the 4. For public water systems, there were multiple systems with non-detected in New Milford, several below MCLs, and there were a couple that were above those MCLs, but again, below those drinking water action levels. So they do have a couple of years to mitigate any PFAS. Ongoing support. So there are many different community resources. I know there are some that are included on the New Milford Town website. There are many that are included on our HVHD site as well. So when there are press releases, when there's any new information regarding PFAS, this is information that we're including on our website in hopes that the community can educate themselves with some of the things that we're posting. We also have a page on our website that is dedicated to drinking water and to PFAS. And we have the Aquarian Water Company reports listed there as well at the bottom. So office hours and contact information for my staff here at New Milford Town Hall. We are located on the 2nd floor, about 2 doors down this way. And our office hours are Monday through Thursday, 8:30 to 4:30, Friday from 8:30 to 2. And I have our contact information. Please feel free to reach out by phone, by email at any time. And there is our website link, Facebook, and Instagram as well. So financial funding and support. Housatonic Valley Health District and York Lab will be at the New Milford Farmers Market to educate the public about water quality and to provide discounted testing resources to the community. We're currently still setting this date, but we're anticipating that it will be likely either July 10th or a date in August. And right now it's recommended that homeowners with private wells test their well water, as I mentioned, on an annual basis. Because this can be financially burdensome to some residents, York will provide discounted testing for residents during this event.
Amy? I was just going to ask you, so you're saying that on your site, people can find a name and a contact for private well testing?
So that information, I believe actually is listed on our website. If it's not, I can make sure that it is after this, but they can call our office and we can connect them with the lab as well.
Okay, because it's not just anybody who we would normally think of getting your water tested to whatever you'd want to check. Now we need to be sure that we go to certain
certified labs.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely.
And about how long does that take to receive the results, considering they're probably busy?
I think it's about 2 weeks.
Oh, not bad. Okay, thanks.
So what exactly is the discount? How much is the discount?
So
what is the average test? I know some private wells can be up to $700.
So we're focusing on water quality across the board, so not just PFAS. So there will be a number of different discounts for different types of chemicals, VOCs, things like that, PFAS as well. She hasn't sent me, the woman that I'm working with from York, the final list of pricing, but we're anticipating it will be, I think, $285 pending the field blank test, which may need to be completed as well for an additional fee.
So was that for the PFAS?
Yeah, that's for the PFAS, correct. Okay.
And who is York? I never heard of this company. Who is
so it's a private lab that's certified to test.
And where are they from?
Newtown.
Okay. Okay. Can you answer me a question? What is a semi-public well? What do you consider a semi-public well?
So I think that information is listed back here.
That was at the beginning. Transient and non-transient, 25 and not.
So it typically refers to the number of people served by the well.
So you had a well, Mary Jane, of like 6 people, all on the same well. That would be a
That's
small
considered
community.
semi-public.
So the transient term is because if I have a restaurant, I don't always have 25 people. I might have 10 one day and 50 another. Got it.
But the community well, that the person who participated in public comments earlier, sounds like there's more than 25 residents on it, so that is considered a public water source?
So that, I believe, so no, I think that would be a community well individually. We can, yeah, a private community well. So it's not considered a public water system.
Gotcha.
Are communities that have these kinds of systems, is there some oversight that compels the people who are managing it to get the tests? Because you had that issue, right?
Not currently required to pass for PFAS.
She's good, yes. So they're not currently required. That's part of the EPA mandate that will happen in the next 3 years and the next 5 years as well, but they're not currently mandated to do those tests.
That's not good enough. What happens to the people in the meantime?
I agree. No, I agree.
Totally
So
outrageous, basically.
Absolutely. So I think what we can do is we can encourage, because on this last link at the bottom here, it has the owners of each of those community water systems. We can reach out to those folks and we should say, hey, we know that this is the regulation coming down the pike, but we recommend that you implement this sooner.
Yeah, I mean, these people need to know who's in charge of their wells.
Yeah,
and why they're
absolutely.
not responding. I think that's totally, unacceptable.
No,
that they're not
absolutely. So
responding.
that, yeah, all that information will be right here at this link.
And Amy, just a quick question. You mentioned if a well is found to be above the level, they will test within 500 feet of that well and then continue. Where's the 500-foot number? How's that derived?
Where does that come from? So that is a number that DEEP implements when they do various different types of testing. I believe it might be PFAS specific, because as we're doing some other types of chemical contaminants, sometimes the radius is different. But that's a number that DEEP dictates.
So if there was a source, not that, I would have a clue how one would determine it was a source, but let's just say right here, this is a source, and I'm in 300, of course it is, 300 feet away, but does that mean if you're not within 500 feet of it, that you're in better shape, probably less contamination than if, in other words, am I safe if I'm 500 feet away?
It would depend on where the source is located.
Yeah.
So they would continue to expand based on what their
Like
findings
the
are.
bottling plant where they do, people who live, we don't, but that would mean you better get your well tested. I see. And PFAS has been around in our water for how many millennium?
Not millennium. It's not millennium.
Well, since plastic, right, yeah.
Yes.
Randy,
Yeah,
just real quick, I'm sorry, Chris, just for the edification of those in the public and watching, so you have a community well, and they have up to 5 years is it up to 5 years to mitigate the issue that they may have with PFAS, to get it to the EPA standard. With that being said, does the town have any auspice to help with that? Since we cannot regulate it, we don't have any really jurisdiction.
No, the
So
town
what
doesn't
could we
have
do?
jurisdiction over it because all waters of the state, all the waters in this state, above or below, next door, are waters of the state. So you have to comply with the state regulations. The town presumably can have a testing program, but the question I have for Amy is how do you administer that? But that's what the town could do.
What do you go by, the EPA or the state?
I'd go by the state. That's the only thing we have right
It's
now.
higher.
It's the state.
Chris and Mary Jane.
Amy, I read somewhere, if you can verify if this is true, in private wells, the number one source of PFAS contamination is generally the septic system on that property. Is that true?
So I'm not sure if it's number one, but I know that is a big causal factor of PFAS being present in wells.
And did I catch this earlier? You did say that they have found PFAS contamination. I don't know if it's above or below the limits, but in bottled water?
Yes.
Is it any of it above the EPA limits?
The study that I read, it was found anywhere ranging between 1 and 19 ppT, which is above.
And the bottle itself. of
In the
course.
bottle, yeah, yeah.
I'm going quick.
Amy, I read in the paper that Woodbury had contamination with tetrachlorine, what was it?
Tetrachloroethylene.
Chloroethylene, and that the health district did step in and tested the wells. Now, did Woodbury pay for those tests? How were they paid for?
So that process was a little bit different. We worked with DEEP as well when we were doing that investigation. It's actually a little bit more positive for PFAS is because I think it was back in 2008, DEEP would pay for any remediation, any investigation costs that came from any type of chemical like tetrachloroethylene. Unfortunately, that's not the case anymore with a number of things that have happened with federal funding. So for PFAS, there are still funds at the federal level, at the state level that have been allocated for PFAS that DEEP can use if folks are finding their private wells are above that drinking water action level. Unfortunately, that was not the case for tetrachloroethylene, so those folks did have to, they didn't pay for the investigation testing, but they did have to pay for the remediation.
They had, okay. All right. So what's so the people on the community well, Sunny Valley, 500 residences apparently. What's the difference? Where is their water coming from versus people who are on the public water supply? Is it all coming from the aquifers? Where is Sunny Valley's water coming from?
That I don't know the answer to. We can certainly look into that.
Yeah,
it would
I think
be
that's something
a drilled well, I would imagine, that is owned by the person who owns the community well.
But tapping
I can look
into
that.
what? Tapping into the aquifer?
Groundwater.
That possibly the same water that aquarium's getting their water from.
Just like our wells. Yeah, just have more wells than we do in one house. 5, didn't you say?
I believe it's 5, but I have to confirm that. Rumor has it in the community, I'm still trying to confirm it. Whether it's one giant well or 5 next to each other, it seems kind of silly, but
Doug?
Hi, Amy, thanks for coming tonight. Quick question on the 500 feet.
Sure.
So hypothetically, say I want to get my water tested, and I live in a close-knit community, and I have, say, 4 houses that are within, their wells are 500 feet within. So what you're saying is if I test high for PFAS, that the state would come in and test all those wells around me for free?
Exactly.
Within 500 feet, correct?
That's correct.
So hypothetically, if I had nice neighbors, and I said, hey, let's all get our water tested because I know if mine does have it, then we all could go in and then they would test it.
Mm-hmm.
So my question to you is, say my neighbor who's 400 feet away has PFAS. Would that now snowball affect another 500 feet from his?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
So you could have a domino effect, so people in the entire neighborhood, as the state goes. So obviously that one person would have to maybe kick in and get help, but that would mushroom into a lot of free for everybody around it, correct?
Yes.
So that's
Yep.
important for people to know. Hey, listen, my neighbor tested, it's high, this guy, and then as it goes, hopefully it would stop. But if it doesn't, every well within 500 feet as it continued would be covered by the state and they would notify them, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Is it reported to the state? I'm sorry, Chris, I just had
No, it's okay.
If your well came back that it was more, and he doesn't tell anybody, does that report go from York or whatever to you?
So right now we're getting it from DEEP. So we have a close relationship with DEEP. There are a lot of fantastic people over there who have a lot of this information, I think, that we can get from them. But yes, we work closely with them. They send us the water quality reports.
So
and
the
then,
lab gives it to DEEP?
Correct.
They're the
Even if-
regulator of
okay.
private wells.
Okay, good. So you can't get it.
Is, if there is a private well source found above the limit, is DEEP coming in and funding remediation to private
Yes.
residences?
Mhm.
I
So
believe there
they'll-
was a woman here at one meeting.
Yes.
Where they put a whole system underneath.
Right, that's what I thought I heard, but I wanted to verify that that was happening. That wasn't a single unicorn. Okay.
No, that's correct.
Okay.
So we did hear that there's the potential that DEEP will potentially run out of money for this testing. Then what are we going to do? What's? Oh yeah.
With the government, they'll just print some more.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't think. Bill, and we send it to them, and then they
They'll
pay.
charge
Well,
you. They'll just put
I
on the
wish we
charge.
could.
Is that what they're doing
I
up
wish
there?
we could depend on that, but unfortunately, it's
I
not
don't
the
think
case.
they're gonna, I don't think they're gonna do that deep.
They're doing it.
So what is going to be the solution then? for
So that's a
everybody?
good question. There are some federal funds that I'm aware of currently. Unfortunately, when I reached out to learn a little bit more about those funds, municipalities and by that nature health districts are not eligible to apply for those funds. So what I've done is reached out to a nonprofit partner in the community, and I'm thinking likely Community Wells would be eligible for this funding as well, although I can clarify that. So it's anticipated that there will be federal funding, and of course, we'll keep an eye out for that as they move to the RFP process, so we can make sure that we're informed.
Randy?
You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I talked to a couple of other lawyers on this, obviously a lot of other lawyers, and not a lot, 3 other lawyers on this. One of the questions that came up during our discussion was whether or not the federal government's going to provide money unless we go to their standards. I don't know if you've heard that. I don't know whether or not that's a real threat, but it would also, I would think, and my colleagues would think, that it would behoove towns to start talking to their legislators about appropriating money for testing more readily.
Which we have.
And we've already done that in New Milford,
Yep.
but that might be something you might want to.
Could you share that with us? Have you
Agree.
talked to Buckby, or who have you talked to?
Talk to all of them.
Yeah, and what have they said? What are they doing?
They're
They need to do something
They're doing this.
ASAP.
They're doing the same thing, Mary Jane, as the other legislatures. Our particular group of legislatures are in the minority. So I think it would behoove us to all talk to the ones in the majority, especially Mr. Ritter, who is the representative speaker. And I could also talk to the state senator, I forget who he is, that's in the majority, because they're the ones that are going to be able to produce bills such as this to help us.
Well, that's all great, but in the meantime, we have people that are very anxious about their water. And what can we do as a town to help people? There's nothing saying that we can't help them. I mean, we help everybody with everything else. Why can't we help them? Give them something towards a water test, people that can't afford it. Some people cannot afford $700 to get their water tested initially so they can get that process rolling. So what can we do as a town to help them? I mean,
Well, Mary Jane, you just heard that Amy, because we're part of the health district, is looking at ways to get reduced testing. She's working on that right now.
Well, I don't know why the town can't kick in something. I mean, we have capital reserve money, and we use it for everything else in the town in New Milford, and I don't know why we can't use it for clean water. Everything else, every department has gotten extra money this year. Yeah. Hello. Where have you been?
I was sitting here listening.
Yeah, I don't think you were.
Tom?
So now that we have part of the education process, right? Thank you for coming tonight. I mean, this has been very educational, I think, for me and for many people, and I think we're going to continue to do this. But now that we've identified this, what is the solution for individual wells that test positive for PFAS? Is it a filtration system?
Yes.
I mean, if you stated here, it shows up in bottled water, shampoo, all sorts of different products in your nonstick pan.
Yep.
So it's not like the town can come in and throw everybody's nonstick pan away. The question is, what can we do on individual wells? What kind of cost is there? Maybe in a bulk buying process, if people find that a lot of these wells need a certain filtration, we can do a bulk buy and let these folks put a filter on their system. I mean, I don't see another major solution here.
Deep is taking care of that right now.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. So
Until
the
they run out
solution
of
is
money.
we can throw, like, listen, we can have the town pay for everything. That's obviously, we can't afford that. The question is, the people who have it, their remedy is you have to put a filter on your house, right? I mean, people are nervous about this now, not 5 years from now, right? So it's not up to us to go out and buy these filters. It's going to be folks are going to have to test their water, get whatever help they can get from the state,
Well, that's what
right?
I'm
From
talking
wherever
about.
you're showing. But the
Test the
remedy
water.
is you got to put a filter on your water, and whether it's a community well, the town wells. I mean, let's come up with a solution here.
Yeah,
We've talked about it. We're scaring the shit out of everybody. Excuse my language. We got to tell them a solution.
Right. We've got to help them.
We have to find a product that we can promote in this room Well, the
No,
state showed.
Deep,
Right,
Deep
that
is
showed
gonna,
up.
Deep is gonna put the filter in there.
There's
That's not the
different
problem,
types of
Tom.
filters.
The problem is the testing. People can't afford the $750.
But then, I'll tell you what, find out what the cost of the filter is. You don't need to test your water. If you're nervous about it, put the filter on.
I have a question.
I don't know what a filter
In
costs. I have no
Milford,
idea.
You made a statement that there's
that are on the same
one
well, and the
private,
500 people pool their money to have the water tested. And then if they need a filtration system, put it at the wellhead, not at the person's house.
okay, so you said one private well had been found above the EPA or the state? The EPA?
Above the EPA.
Okay,
correct.
so that was one, and that one being some owner who had it tested. Okay, so this has been talked about for quite some time, and I don't think maybe you do know, but we have no idea how many people have had their well tested, perhaps not to the degree that it needs to be tested, right? So, but there's only one that Deep knows about that's off the chart. So, and community wells, do you know how many of those are out of sorts?
No, community wells, I don't have any
And
data for.
our water supplier, it's Aquarian here, right?
Aquarian, there were a couple in our, so I get these reports sent to me on an annual basis. And for this year, there were 2 systems that were non-detect. There were several that were below the new EPA MCLs, but detected. And then there were 3 that were over the MCLs, but still below the drinking water action level. So the thought process there is they have the 3 years and the 5 years
Right.
to.
That's just some data that I think we've been talking about this for, a couple of months or maybe even more. I've lost track. I just think that it's not necessarily running rampant but on the other hand, you don't want to be the person that has that well. I understand that. So I think the idea of taking the data that you have and knowing that Deep will test and then will pay for a filtering system of whatever type is a positive thing. And take it, as it comes. Do you have any idea whether or not the state will rise up to the EPA level, or are they firm to stay at where they are?
So they have implemented the new MCLs for public water systems. For private water systems, it's hard to tell. I've asked them directly a couple of times, and they're unsure the direction that they're taking and how long they will take.
But if they do provide a filtering system as the answer, I guess that does it right there. Why, they don't have to, if they're going to put one on every private well. Right?
Yes.
So, thank you.
Chris?
I would just like to reiterate what I heard. It sounds like you're well on your way to resolving the issue of the high cost of testing, right? If you get York Labs, get it down to $280, under $300, I think that's very reasonable, and I appreciate you working that issue for the people in the town.
Absolutely.
Amy, would you ever think there would be some kind of testing that a person could do themselves? Why does it have to go out to a private?
So for PFAS, they don't recommend that.
Okay.
And when in our partnership with York Lab that we'll be doing in a couple of weeks here, my staff is going to assist with some of that water sampling because my staff is trained. When we're talking about PFAS, there's field blanks involved. There's just a lot of different processes, and for that reason, we don't recommend that.
Well, the question came in front of me. A
residents
couple
test.
people asked me, well, why can't we test them themselves? And I said, well, it's a little bit more than like testing pool water or something like that.
Yeah.
It's got to be more.
Part per trillion
Right,
is
right.
extraordinarily
Just stuff
difficult
like
to
that.
detect.
Do you know of any
Trillion,
companies
right.
like the one in Newtown that does like a town rate to where they could be hired by a town and they would do a bulk rate?
I think that's definitely something that can be explored. The labs are, very willing to work. This is an issue that's top of mind for everyone in the state, so I think that could definitely be an option.
Like hypothetically, say this place in Newtown, we said, listen, we want to hire you for a year to test all the private wells in Newtown when people come in front of it, whatever.
You
And
can't,
s-
Doug, you can't do that.
Can't do that?
It's restraint of trade.
I'm sorry?
It's restraint of trade.
Okay.
Am I correct, Randy?
Well, you're gonna have to have a bidding, you got a bidding ordinance.
Right.
I didn't know if there was any towns that did that or any
I'm not
companies
aware
that
of
did
any,
that or whatever.
I mean, I'm not aware of any, Doug, but I could find out. But
I was just
concern,
curious, trying to think outside the box.
Yeah, it's a great idea. The concern that I would have is that we do that, let's say with York, and then ABC company says we
Yes.
want a shot.
Sure.
Right.
And then we get stopped. And then you start over again.
Or what you could do, Doug, is right, what Amy's doing is going to these places
Right.
and saying,
Yeah.
there's a demand, what's your price?
Right.
And then they could list them, Amy could list,
So
you
someone
know,
would come in and say,
your
"I'm
could
from
be
a town in
300, 275.
Okay.
The other one could be, and you publicize them, and then the demand is gonna drive the pricing.
And have they considered, do you know, just doing some random, I mean, we are a very rural town, obviously, and we're big in size, so there's somebody lives way out and somebody lives in town. But have they considered just doing some spot testing, like you would do on many things that has been done across the country and in the world, rather than having people nervous about it, take some quadrants and start testing the wells themselves?
So what I've
Tell them
seen,
I asked that, would you?
I will, yeah. Unfortunately, I think as of now, the guidance is still unchanged from CTDPH, which is that they don't broadly recommend testing for PFAS.
Of course not.
Yeah.
Alex?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So with regard to our legislators, they're doing the same thing we're doing, or have they asked for funds from monies that have been made available for communities?
I'll ask them to come to the next meeting.
That would be great.
Absolutely.
That would be great to hear what they've been doing. That would be wonderful. Thank you. And Amy, thank you very much, because this is very informative, and again, that's going to be on your website, right?
Yes, this will be.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm sorry, Tom. I do think, especially Amy, you coming not only last time, but this time, to again, for the people that are very concerned about their water, is the best way to do it is to go to where you can find the solution or the information. And the solution based is by the federal and state government. It's not by a municipality.
Correct.
And to me, that's the thing that really needs to get out to our public is concerned about that. They can talk to the health district. Hopefully we get some federal dollars. I know we also reached out to Senator Murphy as well. And matter of fact, I told the council this, I think it was about a month or so ago, that they were waiting for funds to come from the federal government for this as well. So to me, it has to be support from our state and our federal government, but it can be all of us advocating for that.
Absolutely.
Tom?
Question.
And then Sal.
Testing itself, is there a specific method when they come to your house to test it, or is it literally they send you you can get the sample, you know, either the way most of them done for like a home test was they would burn, you know, they would heat the faucet, take a certain amount of water, let it run for 10 minutes, take the test and bring it to a lab.
So I will say I'm not personally trained, so I do not know, but my staff back here is phenomenal at doing this work.
Is it, and the reason I'm saying it here is because the big cost of going out and testing is putting somebody in a car and driving them up to the Northwest Hills of Connecticut and driving around for a few hours testing, as opposed to if your water needs to be tested, we'll send you the test, send it to the lab, it's whatever the cost is. It's going to reduce the cost dramatically than if we're sending people out to do this.
For sure, and for this particular event, we'll be doing this at no cost for that. I think we'll see if there's any evolution in their mandates for how testing is done. The test right now, my understanding is it is so nuanced that they don't broadly recommend having people do that. Yeah.
And just to say, and just in a quick search, there's dozens of filters to rid PFAS out of your home. So for the people who are really concerned right now, not to wait for the government to come and help you, which they don't, get a filter, right? Have your water tested if you can't. If you can't afford the testing, at least put a filter on. The cost I'm seeing is half the price for even just basic filters to get rid of PFAS so you can drink it and eat with it, right? If it's not being absorbed through the skin, then that's a solution right now. And that's what I hope we can get people to understand that. Filter your water immediately, please. We're all concerned. Thank you.
And as consumers, just being mindful about products that we're purchasing and what we're using on our properties as well. Would recommend. And then education regarding remediation. There are a number of different filters, a number of different remediation options. But this in particular is a fact sheet about granular activated carbon treatment. And this is broadly what is recommended for a number of different chemical contaminants, not just limited to PFAS. So I would encourage folks to click on this link as well, and you'll be linked to a fact sheet from DPH on granular activated carbon treatment. And then the last piece, which I think we spoke about, is advocacy. So how can we advocate for the state and the federal government to provide funds for remediation of this issue? And then contacts. So we, HVHD, we're your local health department here for New Milford, so please feel free to reach out to me by email. I've also listed the email addresses of the Emerging Contaminants Unit at CTDPH. There are two wonderful professionals there that can answer a lot of questions, and then CT Deep as well has a number of skilled folks who can answer any questions that people may have.
Any other, Sal, did you have a
I have
question?
a question. So it looks like the immediate release or help is the filter. I want to second to what Tom was saying. So do you know of any action right now on the state level that, or maybe you were helping to actually provide some relief funds from the state? Because from what I hear is this, the state owns the water but doesn't own the PFAS, which is ridiculous because the PFAS is in the water. So which one is it, right? If you own the water, you own everything. That's my personal opinion, but I don't know. I'm not in that business. Do you know of any action right now by Blumenthal, Murphy, and anybody on the state level? Because as I said, the filtering is the immediate action right now. Without even testing, we know there is some PFAS in it. Whether it's going to be above or below, but it's the PFAS that's like in a bottle over there that kid is drinking. Is anybody advocating for this right now on the state level?
So I'll say a couple of things. So there are those deep funds that are available. I just want to clarify this. That's for folks that are above the EPA MCLs currently. Those EPA funds, or those deep funds rather, are available for free testing, free confirmation testing, and then free remediation. I have heard a lot of advocacy statements being shared by CTDPH and by individual politicians, by people who are advocating for this issue. How far that's getting right now, I'm not sure. And I think a lot of that is because, it's pretty recent that these that the EPA has mandated some of these changes. So it was really only back in early April. So I think, unfortunately, as we know, things can take time sometime. I think we'll start to see that more and more in the coming months.
Can you inform us if you see more, hear more about those things? That would be great.
Yeah,
for the people that are
absolutely.
sitting on the audience and they're worried about it, obviously. Thanks
Absolutely.
so much. Cheers.
Anything else, Frank? Mary Jane?
Aquarium water, is there any possibility that the town can put any pressure on Aquarium to put in a charcoal filter so they can even get that level down to zero? Because I think most people know in the scientific medical community that zero is going to be, it's going to be the new level. So with Aquarium building a new facility, why are we not pressuring them to put in the charcoal filter? And I know they're owned by the utility company and it's being sold, but why has no pressure been put on them while they're doing this whole new construction to put a new filter in?
So Mary Jane, and I'll defer to Randy as I'm not prefacing this, as I'm not an attorney. But Randy, can a municipality force a private entity to go above and beyond the standards of which they've been regulated? Example, EPA.
No, the state and the federal government preempt the local government on utilities of that type, just like in electricity, just like in siting. So the fact is that we can contact them and ask them to do this, to just please install charcoal filters or whatever. But we can't force them.
I would think, Randy, and for the public who would want to go to a zero, your best advocate would be Senator Murphy, Senator Blumenthal, as they control the federal legislation through the EPA. Am I correct, Randy? So I think it would behoove us all to contact our state U.S. senators and also our Congresswoman, Johanna Hayes, and advocate for them to bring it down to zero.
And would it hurt for you to contact Aquarium and have a discussion with them?
Absolutely. I have
Well,
no problem
maybe you could do
to
that
say.
and then report
I have no
back to us.
problem to say to them, "Can you go to zero?"
I thought you did.
Can you put a charcoal filter in?
I don't know if they have a charcoal filter in there or not. I have no idea. It's a
Apparently,
private entity.
from when they were here that time, when they gave their little presentation, they said they were not doing that.
I do know, Amy, right? The big one that Mary Jane was talking about, that's down there by Big Y, the main aquifer. That one has been tested and is at 4 or lower, correct?
That's correct. The New Milford regional system is below 4.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
Well,
Any other questions for Amy?
Amy, great presentation.
Amy, thank you for the
Thank you.
presentation.
Thank you
Very,
very
very
much.
informative and helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, item number 6 would be mayor's comments.
Thank you, Katie. So first is, want to talk about, Len Deming has been open now for a little bit of time. The weather's getting a little better. And first, on June 1st, we had a young boy who went out to help his cousin, and he thought he was having an issue swimming. The result was the young man himself went underwater. So thank you to lifeguard Connor Caradad. He went out and got both swimmers and brought them back to safety. So outstanding work, Connor. Also want to thank lifeguard Aiden Mulligan Brown. He had another save at the lake. A young boy was trying to swim out to the dock in the swim area, got too tired and tried to turn back before asking for help, at which point Aiden responded and was able to carry him back to the beach. So when I was talking to our events director who runs the lifeguard program too, Graham, what are some of the things the lifeguards are seeing? As far as wanting to make sure that our youngsters are safe. So first and foremost is make sure the parents are watching, but they're not on their phones. They're watching, making sure that the child, especially if they're not a good swimmer, is in an area where it's not too deep. The second is those that go to Len Deming, when you go out to the buoys, it's far out there. So if you're not a good swimmer, it's recommended that you do not go all the way out to the buoys. That's for stronger swimmers, because then you're not going to be able to paddle back, and you're going to end up having the lifeguards come and help you. So congratulations to our lifeguards. They do a great job. They had saves last year too, and they're beginning the season with a couple already.
Mayor, if I could
Thank
just
goodness.
interject it.
Yep.
I was at Len Deming today, and I think, there was maybe 4, 5, or 6 lifeguards on duty, but they were really good. They were rotating their positions every 10 minutes. I'm sure to keep their focus on their jobs, and they really are doing a great job out there.
However, I think what you said, I just want to reinforce this, having once upon a time seen a mom talking to her friends and her baby went like that. You really, if you have children and you're near water, keep your eye on them. They're your children, and you should be
I'm
off
gonna
the
say
phone.
something maybe a little
Off
tougher.
the phone.
The lifeguards are not babysitters. Okay, I'm looking at the camera. Please, Michael, turn it this way. Lifeguards are not babysitters. You're there to watch your kids. Thank God they're there. We've had the benefit of hearing all the fabulous saves, but they're not babysitters.
Okay. Want to thank the New Milford High School teacher, Katie Gardner. She applied to NASA for a tree that had traveled as a seed on the Artemis 1 mission.
She got it.
The seed was part of the unmanned flight and that spent 25 days in space and orbited the moon twice. Out of 1,300 applications, New Milford High School was selected as one of the lucky recipients of the moon tree. And that's a beautiful sweet gum tree that grew from one of those seeds. I think it's probably about 4 feet high now. It's awesome. Want to thank Katie, and want to thank the environmental group that's in the high school as well, as they attended the planting of the tree, and just amazing. What a great thing. Want to thank Litchfield Hills Transition Center, Ashley Albanese and Roxanne Kraft. They invited me, as they do each year, for their graduation, and it's great to see those young adults that graduate out, and congratulations to Connor, Bobby, Timmy, Aiden, and Anthony. And thank you to the LTC staff, the amazing works they do for those young adults. Truly amazing. Again, want to thank all the bands, Mr. Fitz, who we'll talk about in a few minutes as well, that were up at Saranoga for the big band bash that they do every year. It was great to see. I want to congratulate New Milford High School ice skater Laura Mae Boucher, who is the daughter of Mike Boucher. She placed second in the 2024 Sky Rink Classic ice skating at Chelsea Pier in New York.
Wow.
Huh?
Did you ever see her skate?
Want to congratulate the New Milford Greenway flag football 7th and 8th grade travel team as they won their championship game. And guess what, Paul? The 5th and 6th grade travel team, they won their championship. And then to round it out, Doug, the 3rd and 4th grade flag football team won their championship.
Future's bright.
Absolutely. And then for the in-house, want to congratulate the 11 and 14-year Cowboys. They won the division. And the 8 and 10-year-old division champ 49ers. I kind of hurts when I say that. 49ers. But, you know, what are you going to do? Want to congratulate the 5 and 7-year-old Greenway flag football, the Panthers, as they were in their division. So a great weekend and a couple of weeks for Greenway flag football. Thank you to all the coaches and the parents. Congratulations to the Orioles. They're the New Milford Miners baseball spring season champion winners. And congratulate the Orioles, who are the New Milford, the Dodgers, who won the New Milford Youth Baseball Majors Baseball Championship. So congratulations to them. I was able to go to the New Milford High School Sports Awards for the spring. Congratulations to the many athletes that we have. It was great to see some of these 4-year lettermen. And we had some all-state people as well, so it was great. And congratulations to all the athletes and the coaches to give their time. Also, thank you to the Milford Cadets, who this past week picked up trash on Patriots Way, Youngsfield, including the playground area, Riverwalk, Veterans Bridge area, parts of Peagler Hill. They totaled about 10 big contractor bags full of garbage. So thank you to all their help. Oddfellows and the Rebeccas had their pancake breakfast, starting that back up. And it was great to see a number of people are there, and obviously those funds go to help the community through Oddfellows. So thank you. Sal, I want to thank you and Amy for our first annual New Milford Chess Tournament that happened at the library. I think we had about 30 people there. So I want to talk a little bit about the chess tournament. I think it was a great success.
Thank you, Mayor, for support, first of all. It was a great event. I appreciate coming. I was hoping to have like a 5, 6, maybe 10 people playing chess that day, and I figured that would be success. I got almost 30. So I think the families in New Milford are fabulous.
Yeah.
They brought the kids. We actually were supposed to be playing from 1 to 5. We played from 1 to 6.
Good.
Guess what? All the kids stayed. I swear to God. The adults left, some of them. They're like, and the kids stay. It's just amazing. So I do appreciate the efforts that the families in this great town are doing and raising their kids, because it's phenomenal. I told them if I have a chess tournament anywhere in the world, I'll take them with me to play against anybody, and we're gonna kick the butts.
When's the next one?
I don't know. We'll find out soon.
Sal, is there an age group?
No, 8 to 82.
So it was open
Yeah.
for everybody.
8 to 82.
That's great.
Great job, Sal.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sal.
Wonderful people, beautiful minds.
And I had the pleasure of seeing the Beehive, their graduation to kindergarten. So thank you to Alana and Allison. And then I also went to Kids in Action. So thank you to Jen to see their graduation, all those young kids getting ready to get into kindergarten. It was amazing. And the parents and obviously the teachers that do that. I think it's great. Also, on last Thursday, I believe it was, went to the Children's Center as they had their promotion too. So it's great to see all these youngsters in New Milford and excited parents, and we wish them a lot of luck and much success in their endeavors. Also want to thank our SMS, such as Scotticoke Middle School teachers and faculty, as their 8th graders are moving on to the high school and they had their graduations. Actually had 3 because of the number of kids throughout the day. And then congratulate the class of 2024 New Milford High School that'll be graduating this Saturday. Full disclosure, my daughter will be one of them. So congratulations to them. And this past Saturday, this past Saturday, we had the Da Vinci Awards, so thank you to Katie and Mr. Coppola as we honored Michael Fitzgerald, which is Mr. Fitz, to those that know him in the band world, and Charlie Juns for their amazing work that they have done for the community and continue to do. Katie, would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Well, Mr. Fitz, he wasn't in school teaching band when I was there, but I wished he had been, because he's the most fantastic teacher, I have not met any child, whether they played in the band, an instrument or not, who doesn't have something great to say about him. And what, I just say this, if you don't, a lot of people out there know this, but what he does is the first day of school at Sarah Noble, he sits, when the kids are coming in, he plays the trombone, and he has a sign around his neck that says, "Join the band." So, and he's, you know, he's just this lovely family. And Charlie Juns, I got to know Charlie because he was a Rotarian, and he and his wife and family have been in New Milford for quite a few years, but he worked in banking, I thought this was interesting, for 32 and a half years, and he retired, and he was pretty young when he retired. He's now spent more than that in volunteering in New Milford. And yeah, he's one of those quiet guys. When I told him that he had been chosen, he'd say, "Oh no, I don't." So I reminded him that he always told me at Rotary, when we would nominate people in the community for awards, that the best thing is to choose the quiet person that no one knows is doing, you know, like the ladies that work at the Thrift Mart and stuff like that. So I said, I'm just doing what you taught me about. So it was a lovely ceremony, and thank you, Mayor, for coming, and Bob Capola. And so it was a real that was a pleasant up feeling. And then we looked out on the green, and everybody out there was having a great time. So it was, you know, it was a good Saturday all the way around.
And thank you to 3 veterans as they continue with the nip and trash pickups. They did Bully Muck, which is 0.67 miles. They got 9 pounds of garbage, 4 nips, 3 redeemables.
And
Candlewood Mountain Road to Bully Muck, 1.2 miles, 21 pounds of garbage.
So you know what I say to my neighbors,
43
Mayor?
nips, 6 redeemables.
Stop throwing your garbage out in our beautiful road. Oh, this is my bottle. I wouldn't throw it out. That's just terrible. In less than a
Throwing
mile.
all your neighbors under the bus.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
You should see what it's like when you look down the hill from a liquor store.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
And as we continue to work on traffic enforcement, I spoke to Chief Cerruto today. So for our car statistics, motor vehicle stops in the year 2023 at this time of year was 946. This year we're at 2,093, which is an increase of 1,997 stops, which is a 211% increase. Motor vehicle accidents in the year 2023 were 386, 63 in parking lots. In 2024, we're at 387, 56 are in parking lots. That's an increase of 1. And speaking with the chief, not incidentally, but statistically, nationally, there are more accidents during the summer than at any time in the year. And the common reasons why accidents during the summer are increased, here's some of them. More people obviously are on the road. With the kids out of school, families taking vacations on road trips, there's simply more cars on the road in the summer. The weather is hotter. This can lead to problems like dehydration, which can cause driver error. Additionally, the heat can cause tire blowouts and other mechanical issues that can lead to accidents. 3, there are more teenage drivers on the road. Many teenage drivers get their licenses during the summer, which increases the number of inexperienced drivers on the road. More people are driving under the influence. Alcohol consumption tends to increase during the summer months, which means that there are more unfortunate drunk drivers on the road. Drivers are in a hurry, and we've seen that not only in the summer, but throughout the year. With so many people out during the summer, many drivers are in a hurry to get to their destination. This can lead to aggressive driving and speeding, which increases the chances of an accident. Road construction increases. With the nicer weather, more road construction occurs in the summer. This can lead to accidents if drivers are not careful or do not slow down in construction zones. Distractions are more common. With so many people out and about in the summer, drivers have more distractions. This could be anything from pedestrians to other cars on the road. It's important to be aware of your surroundings and avoid distractions while driving. I don't know if you've been at the Pettibone, around the Pettibone facility, but speaking with Chief Cerruto, we brought up an actual crash car that we've stationed first at Pettibone, and we'll be moving it throughout the community. The whole top of the car is pretty much compressed in, except for a little area. Thank goodness the person that was in that car actually walked away from that, but it's just a reminder that you need to be very cognizant of how you drive because it can cause an accident. So thank you to the chief and the police department as we'll be continuing to move that around. Some of the events that we have going on that are going to be starting, it's already started, but are on their way to this coming week. Let me grab that real quick here. Is Farmers Markets this Saturday. Music on the bandstand is John Fazio, and that's Saturday starting at 9 a.m. to noon for the Farmers Market, 10 to noon for the music on the bandstand. That's 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Pettibone is the Park and Rec Community Tag Sale. Rain date will be the 22nd. Also on the 15th at 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Harrybrook is the Lazy Luau Buffet Backyard Barbecue Party. Music, Bahama Mama's playing there. Then on the 20th, which is Thursday, that's Saturday. Then this coming Thursday, not this Thursday, but a week from Thursday, is the second Rock the Block concert, which is Anchor Management. They put on a great show, 6:30 p.m., right on Bank Street. Bring your favorite lawn chair. Relax, yes, sir. Then we go to June 22nd, 9 a.m. to noon, Farmers Market. Music on the bandstand is Dean Snellback and the Bluesy Land. On the 23rd at Harrybrook, 1 to 3 p.m. is Paint a Peacock. You have to get your tickets through Harrybrook. Then June 29th, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. on the Green. What's that? Is Paint a Peacock, I guess, because they have the peacocks. They've got these little, like...
You paint a picture
you could paint a picture of a peacock, yeah.
I was thinking the same thing.
No, sorry. Paint a picture of a peacock. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's not your fault.
Could be something new, though. You might have just started something new.
Right.
June 29th, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. on the Green is the Commission on the Arts Outdoor Art Festival. Brought that back after COVID last year, very successful. Bob Stump and the Bluegrass Band plays at 7. Then on the 29th, again, at 9 a.m. is the Farmers Market. Also on the 29th, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Pettibone is Bike Day, where we give bikes to those that need them, that may not be able to afford them. So thank you to Social Services. Thank you to Tom O'Brien. Thank you to the Youth Agency, Police Department, and all those that donated, which is great.
Does Oddfellows still do that?
What's that?
Does Oddfellows still do that? They collect bikes? In that thing?
They do for Christmas time, yeah, and send them, and they collect them and hold them, yeah. July 6th, again, is the Farmers Market, and the music at 10 a.m. is Vincent Rodriguez. You may know him for his smiles, where he gives away the guitars. July 6th at dusk, right here, in the Milford Fireworks. And the Women's Club's going to have their cupcakes they'll be giving out, red, white, and blue. And there'll be some music, I believe, on the Green as well. July 12th, 11 a.m. at El Recinto, which is in back of Johanna's. They're a wonderful place where you can rent out. They're doing the senior center, their summer luau. So if you're a senior and you want to be involved, contact the senior center to get your ticket. July 12th, Harrybrook Trivia Night. Then July 13th, 9 a.m. to noon, Farmers Market. The music is Dan Sawyer. Rock the Block, July 18th, which is Nashville Drive. They always bring a big contingent with them. Then July 20th, the Litchfield Artisan Festival, very successful. We brought that last year, and expect bigger and better this year. And that's so far. We'll have more as we continue to do those as well. Mariel Bridge continues with its construction. They're right now working on the northwest wing walls, and that project hopefully is going to be completed by November, weather dependent. Some of the road work that we're doing right now on drainage, we completed Greenview Road, April Drive. We're continuing now to begin to work on Mine Hill Road, and we're going to be doing some on Waller Road. Mill and pave. Some of the stuff we're doing now is, Morey Road we completed April Drive, completed Greenview Popular, and we did the northern part right in front of Town Hall as well. We're still going to be doing Mine Hill after the drainage. Waller, Gaylord, Newtown, Hillendale, Hillendale Extension, Legion, Kennewood Lake Road North. And Aquarian is going shoulder to shoulder. They've done Second Hill. They're going up into those neighborhood areas, and they just did Peegler Hill, Peegler Road. It's right across, right by Big Y is. So they're continued with those projects as well. And want to talk a little bit about, we had the unfortunate incident where we had 2 fires that unfortunately displaced some residents. One was up on Wellsville Avenue, and one was out on Route 7. And I've had some people ask me, well, what happens? What happens once that happens? Well, kind of give you a timeline. The American Red Cross usually comes in, as they have, and what they'll do is they'll assess the situation, give a little bit of some temporary housing and some gift cards and whatnot for those people. Then, more than likely or normally what happens is the landlord or the owner of the property has insurance. And that insurance is supposed to put those residents into housing. Now, if that doesn't happen, if there's an issue with the insurance, if there is an issue with them not being able to have lodging, and Randy, you can help me with this too if I'm saying it improperly, then the auspice, the town then provides the lodging. And what happens, because this is taxpayer funded money, is that when we go and we lien the property, if we have to, correct, Randy? And that's how we do it. It goes through our very senior members of social services that have been doing this a very long time, and our senior center if they're 60 and above. So I know some people are conjecturing that the town really doesn't do anything, and that is wholeheartedly, again, misinformation. So Randy, can you talk just so the public says legally?
Matter of fact, I've been on the phone with Ivana and Fire Marshal and a number of people concerning coordinating these benefits. The benefits go to the individuals, people who need the help. The landlord has responsibility if they have insurance and there's a reason for the fire. And the fact is the town is helping. Gift cards were given out, rent was being paid, and hotels were being supplied. Well under the statute, beyond the statute, frankly. So, and then, of course, we go after the landlord.
I can-
Maybe Doug?
Just speaking from experience, obviously everybody knows I had a fire a couple of years ago. This town was fantastic. The day my house was on fire, I had thousands of calls, people reaching out to me. Not only local people from the town here at Town Hall, but I would also stress to anybody who is renting, get renter's insurance as well. I was lucky enough to have good insurance, and they helped out. The Red Cross showed up. They offered their assistance. A lot of friends and family and stuff like that, but there are a lot of avenues out there. I was fortunate enough to have good insurance. But I would suggest to anybody that is renting, get renter's insurance just for this purpose as well. Even if the homeowner who owns the place, because they should show proof of that. Even some of my rentals, you're supposed to have insurance on those for that reason alone. But I'll echo what Randy and the mayor said. This town opens up their arms anytime there's a tragedy, whether it's a car accident or a fire. So there's no room for any kind of miscommunication or anything that we don't do enough for the people in this town. That's absolutely false. Absolutely false. I won't even conjecture it with an answer that we don't do anything. That's false. We squash it right now. If anybody needs help, we're here to help, period. So, thanks, people.
Thank you.
I just want to
Mary
say,
Jane?
there was a thing on the news, I think it was like a couple weeks ago, I think it might have been in Middletown or Meriden somewhere, where there was a fire, a condo fire, and the people were all displaced, and they had nowhere, after like several weeks of the landlord paying for their lodging, there wasn't anything. Pretty scary situation.
That's been on the attorney's, if you will, listserv concerning that situation.
Yeah, that's a pretty sad
Absolutely.
state of affairs.
I
And
agree.
that's where the town has to step in and help these people.
Well, sometimes, Mary Jane's even sooner than that.
Yeah.
If you have an issue where, A private landlord may not have the insurance, may not have it. So as Randy had stated before, then the town steps in, and then the recourse, because this is taxpayer money for those that are watching, what happens is then the town would lien the property.
We're in a housing and rental shortage, as everybody knows. I know people that stayed in a hotel for a year while their house was being built because they couldn't find a place.
Yeah.
So that's a problem as well. There's not enough housing and rentals.
So you brought up something that people watching that, I mean, I don't rent, but I wouldn't have thought about it, that renter's insurance and making sure that your landlord shows you that they do have insurance. Sort of like
when
fire
you sign a
extinguishers.
lease, you can ask the landlord for proof of a COI, a certificate of insurance, to make sure you're protected as well. And then on
good
top of
advice.
that, as a landlord, you ask for a COI from your renter as well, so you protect each other.
Right.
Because God forbid, it could happen. So you should.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that can't, in some of these places, that can't even afford the renter's insurance.
The renter's insurance is $200 a year.
I know, but there are people that
I know,
cannot
but
afford that.
it's for the overall scheme of it,
Yeah, it
$200.
sounds like a great idea,
Yeah,
but
it's not
it's not always an
a whole lot of
option.
money. It's not, in this perspective.
If I were a landlord, I'd want to, I'd
Absolutely.
provide them the money to do it. I
Absolutely.
mean, it's
So-
your structure.
So before I continue on, we have our Boy Scouts here, and I see them all the way in the back.
Hey, guys.
One's awake.
So to our scouts,
Are you getting a badge tonight? Is that what's happening?
What's
come
going
on up,
on?
Scouts, come on up.
It's freezing in here, that's why they're here.
Any questions about water?
Oh, I thought you were just watching us. Ah,
Hi, guys.
Could you give your name?
so what's up?
So we're here for merit badge.
I am Hugh McLendon.
I'm Rowan Carter.
Sorry. My name is Hugh McLendon.
My name is Rowan Carter.
You want to do it?
We're here to get the citizenship and the community merit badge by attending a town meeting. And
You're thinking this is a painful badge to get.
I think, could we apply
And-
for that, do you think, to get them?
And
What we do?
they came to town hall before, and we learned about town government right here in
yes.
this,
Yeah.
right here in this room. And they had some great questions then.
Use it rolling to clean up this weekend?
Awesome.
Awesome, thank you.
When do you get the badge? Like, is it time for the ceremony to be badged up, or what? As a Girl Scout, they do it differently.
You're not gonna get it until when? Summer camp, right?
Yeah.
Ah,
This is just a prerequisite we have to do for the badge.
you
What's
have
the
quite a
next
few
step?
there. 58.
I'm not entirely sure. There's more.
Official.
A conversation with a government official or town.
Are you doing that now?
I assume so. Yeah.
Get a whole group of us. You should get like 9 badges.
Oh,
Do you-
yeah.
Do you have any questions for any of us or the mayor?
What's the name now, Max?
Did you hear something tonight you want somebody to speak to, or do you have
not-
questions about what you heard?
Not that I can think of.
Are you
right
looking
now, no.
forward to joining as a volunteer to join the town council when you graduate?
Just for the excitement alone.
No pressure. No pressure. That's awesome.
Well, thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for
Yeah.
coming.
Yeah, I'm sorry that
Thank
you
you,
sat
guys.
over there all that time. I thought you were
Won't be
just
much
watching.
longer.
I didn't know you wanted to speak.
They're here to observe.
observe?
And be at
Okay.
the town council meeting.
Okay.
And for, I don't know if we have leaders or dads here, but it is nice to see the scouting really is strong in this town.
Absolutely.
I've been to some Eagle Scout ceremonies and that, and we appreciate
Amazing.
Yeah.
continuing on your journey as scouts. So thank you, and appreciate your leaders and your parents for all the work they do for
Absolutely.
us.
I know being on Park and Rec, these guys go out and they do little projects. They come in front of Park and Rec and they
Big
ask
project.
for little projects, whether it's, I think Frisbee golf was one
Yep,
of the
disc
guys
golf,
that done
yeah.
a few years back.
Clatter Valley, yeah.
And they'll build stuff, yeah, they'll build stuff.
Evan Lovejoy did
The new sign? This is
Yes,
Yeah.
so they're, not only are they here in front of us, but they do a lot
Yep.
through Park and Rec. That's not seen a whole lot through the public, so they
Right.
should be commended for doing that too. They do a lot of great projects around town.
Yes, you do.
Great job, guys.
Great job.
Great job, guys.
Stop by
Make sure they get to that
anytime,
bag.
anytime you want to, get some conversation going, we're always ready. And thanks are you your dad, right?
I'm the dad, he's the other dad. I just want to get done space over there, so we can sit over here. We've also both done leadership. Yeah. He was club master, I'm now club master.
Thank you, guys.
67.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
No problem. Thank you,
Happy
guys.
Father's Day on Sunday.
I'm running back towards 67, having a camp out.
Enjoy.
And my last part of the comments was, we did have RJ and we had, and Adam, yes, here tonight, part of Litchfield Pride. And I wanted to thank them for, their patience. I want to thank them also for a wonderful picnic that was there. I attended there myself. And just want to thank them. We heard from some of the public as well. And, we're always going to side on the case of safety here in New Milford, at least as long as I'm in this chair, is rather be safe rather than be sorry. And unfortunately, we had some social media sites decide to gin things up with fake news, fake media, and in so doing, they caused a reaction from people that aren't even in our town. And I think we all need to be we all need to be conscious of this, okay? Put all politics aside. It's all about the residents of this town of New Milford. And everyone here should feel safe. No matter what you are, you should feel safe. And for people to gin up people on a social media site is appalling, is pathetic, and is not who we are. Because the unintended consequences are there's some people that are here, not even in our community, that may take it a way different way. So, thank you to them. It was a great time. Everyone seemed to enjoy themselves. And I think we should move on as a community together and continue to work forward in a very positive way, because that's what the public wants us to be.
And what we have been.
Absolutely. So, thank you.
Good words.
Absolutely. Who canceled the event?
The organizer.
The organizers chose not to do that due to the fact that there was some insidious beginnings of stuff going on social media that was causing maybe some potential safety issues. So to err on the side of caution, it was chosen not to do that.
Did they come to you? Did they contact you directly, or who did they contact?
I spoke to RJ and I spoke to Adam myself.
There were some comments from town council people on that I thought were a little inappropriate too. Like, I think we got to be very careful.
I think
what
we
you
need to
put
be.
out there.
I think we need to be extremely careful to not stoke public angst. I think we need to be very cognizant of that. Some of these social media sites, I think that's kind of what they like to do. I think that's their whatever. And I think we need to be
Trend,
correct. And that's what I'm saying. We need to be more and more cognizant, for us to not cause the angst. And I think, you saw it here tonight. You saw the people talking about what's concerning to them. They had a great picnic. And the town is extremely welcoming in what we do here. It's welcoming than some towns already are with some of the things that we do here through our youth agency, through our senior center. And I think as we just try and work together, show compassion to one another, and everyone should feel safe in our community. Everyone should.
Because some people were nervous that
Yep.
the anti-people were going to make trouble, and they were nervous.
Well, I think what's great is ended up being a great picnic.
Yes,
So
it
on a
was.
very positive,
Oh, it was
very
well
good job
attended.
to the organizers, and you know,
Thank you for
Alex?
saying that. The one thing that might have helped is if we had been told that something like that went down as council members, because you could hear here around the table, everyone has been to events. This was a busy weekend, and people were asking questions, and we didn't have anything for them, nothing, even to say that the mayor, they consulted with you and they made the decision, which I made clear to people I spoke to. But I didn't talk to as many people as you all did. And maybe there's a way for us to be a little more informative for the council members when something like this happens, so that we're prepared to share with the community the right information. Because people are being accused of participating in the negative speak who weren't promoting it. So it's nasty. And I think that if we could have been ambassadors, speaking to people in a way that says, yes, it was a mutual decision, or however it went down, because I'm still not 100% sure, but something so that we can be better prepared when we talk with people, because I'm still getting questions.
well, the questions can be answered right now, just like we just talked about just a second ago. You err on the safety of caution. You make sure the event, as you heard this past Saturday, was very peaceful, was very nice. Everybody enjoyed themselves. And that's what you want to make happen, especially when we're in this real unfortunate national climate of incivility, of climate of just not patient in anything that we have. And to me, to do it as safely as we possibly could, to me, that trumped everything.
Maybe we as council members might want to have a session on how to appropriately address questions in general, or when people bring us concerns. What's the best way for us
I
to
think you should
share
get
that
to know some of the
information?
people in that club, in that group, that, RJ and Adam. They're more than happy to talk about it, because really, that's who they are, and they were very open about talking about the people they met, and they actually were. RJ told me she was overwhelmed with the people who were there and being supportive of them, and didn't really understand. They didn't even know that anything had changed, because they just came anyway, or they were in town. But that just shows you, as many people said tonight, that we are a good community, we're a solid community, and that's going to continue. So
And nobody should have to coach you on how to say that.
That's right.
I'm sorry, but there shouldn't be a directive from anybody to have how you would address
Right.
this type of intolerance. I mean, this is something that we should be able to do based on your experience sitting at this room and being at the Board of Ed. That's just my opinion. You know, I think,
There's
you
a
know,
couple of different issues around
we
this
should-
stuff.
And a comment was made, because I said, I could look out the window and I saw them having the green, it was getting all decorated, and there were all kinds of people there, and so one of the people who were there said, yeah, that was kind of cool that we had older, this was their words, had older people upstairs getting an award, and, they had all the kids down there. And I said, well, we're not that old.
I think people, not only in the audience, but people at home should know the process of how it works when you hold an event. And one is, if you're going to do it on the green, you have to approach the Park and Rec. You have
Correct.
to fill out.
Park and Rec has the
Right.
responsibility
You fill out a
for that.
form, and then you'll sit, and Park and Rec will have a meeting every month, and they'll come before the Park and Rec, and they'll check off, okay, here. And then the only time it really comes to us, if I'm understanding, is when there's a road closure.
Correct.
Or police
Yeah.
presence. So this didn't have either, so it never really did come in front of us.
No.
Usually when there's a road closure, like a road race or something like that. Basically, the Park and Rec will do their due diligence and have that. And so I think, I think from what I saw on Saturday, it was a great event. There were families out there and people out there. I just think a lot of people were not informed. And again, with the hatred on social media, it only takes one bad apple. And I don't think that reflects on New Milford at all. So but I was pleased to see the event go on, even though one thing was canceled. But I think information about the event in the future and what's going to happen would prevent things like this happening. And I think it just it took a lot of people off guard what the content of the event was, and then once they learned from it, then they accepted it. But I think they were so unsure about what was going to happen that they were a little offended with it. That's all.
Hey, Tom?
I'm good.
All right.
Good.
Next, discussion on short-term rentals, real quick.
Quick?
9 o'clock, what?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So first of all, short-term rentals, Omnibus Bill HB 5474, which was passed. And this was done by our state legislature. And what does that do for short-term rentals? It explicitly authorizes municipalities, by vote of their legislative bodies, to adopt an ordinance regulating the operation and use of short-term rental properties and requires their licensure. It also allows municipalities to hire consultants to help them develop the ordinances. It defines short-term rental properties as dwelling units or portions of them that are, 1, the subject of a short-term rental, i.e. the transfer consideration of occupancy in a furnished residence or similar accommodation for 30 days or less. And 2, it is not a hotel, bed or breakfast, motel, motor court, motor inn, or tourist court. And that is in, if you want to go home and look at the HB Bill number 5474, it is section 7. And this will be effective October 1st, 2024. And I know we're beginning our discussion on do we want to regulate short-term rentals? If we do, I think it takes not just a couple of meetings. I've been doing some research myself on short-term rentals and community. So some of the things I think we need to be cognizant about if we're going to go through this endeavor. First is we have to define and classify the STR. So that is a paramount thing. Part of that is defining the rental durations, what qualifies as short-term, and that can be varied based on our housing needs, tourist influx patterns, community preferences. Property types. In the world of STRs, it's vast. Is a spare bedroom rent out, is that an STR? Or is it more than that? That's something that we would have to define as the town council. Safety standards. Making sure that we ensure the properties meet the essential safety standards. It's about not only protecting the guests, it's about safeguarding the community itself. They say every STR property should adhere to guidelines to prevent potential hazards, ensuring the well-being of both guests and neighbors. Also should have emergency protocols. In the face of unseen events, a well-prepared STR can make a critical difference, whether it's a medical emergency, a fire, a natural disaster. Having protocols in place, from first aid kits to clear evacuation plans, should be mandatory. Community harmony. They say STRs don't operate in a vacuum. They're embedded within the communities, addressing potential disturbances from noise to parking challenges, ensures that while host benefits from the sharing the economy, residents' rights and peace are not compromised. Ensuring STR properties maintain a certain aesthetic and functional standard is also vital in preserving character of neighborhoods. So that's just some of the things that they do talk about. Randy, does that seem to comply so far with everything you've done?
I reviewed the statute.
And then we also have talked about before, there is a difference between a hosted and a non-hosted short-term rental. And for those that are maybe watching, what does hosted mean? That means that the person is actually going to be there as you are renting the property. Non-hosted is that the guests stay in a property that is vacant, and then they come in and then they stay. And that's something that you have to look at. Some cities allow the primary resident to rent out the entire premises without the primary resident being on the premises. But in many cases, they will limit the number of days per calendar year that the primary resident is allowed to rent without being present during the rental. So that's something that the council may want to think about. Also, the thoughts about there may be, if we decide to go down this route, exemptions. So some of the exemptions may be college or university housing. So for instance, we do have some housing. You have people that go to WestCon. You also have our private institutions that are here, whether it be Canterbury, South Kent. When they're off, they may have people stay. So that could be something to think about. Also, hospital and healthcare facilities. So you may want to accommodate affiliations with hospitals, so as providing those for families or patients that are in need of the hospital, or medical professionals that would be in training might be exempt. That might be something that we want to take a look at. And also medical stays. So there might be some individuals that might need temporary housing for medical reasons as they go through their procedures or medical treatment. That may be something that we may want to look at. So kind of in looking at all this stuff, right, it seems like this is more in depth than
Oh, definitely.
a couple of things,
Page ordinance.
but
Yeah, if I could, I
Absolutely.
reviewed the legislative history on this. This is gonna take more than dictating an ordinance. You're actually, and I don't mean to create a bureaucracy,
No, don't.
but you're actually, you're gonna need an administrator. And it's just too much for zoning. Zoning should not, no matter what anybody tells you, zoning cannot enforce this.
No, I thought we talked about that.
I understand that, but you're gonna
Yeah.
get lobbied to have the zoning commission do this, and they're not gonna be able to enforce it.
Well, you know, I have a question, Randy.
And, I'm sorry, Kate.
Go ahead.
Okay, the difference why we chose of doing this legislatively is zoning is only here Monday through Friday.
Precisely.
So
Right.
the issues that we heard were more of a weekend type issue.
Police.
Which would be the police that would be able to, with the proper legislation, be able to help enforce those.
During the course of this discussion, this debate in Hartford, a couple of the legislators said, why don't we just leave it to the zoning commissions? And it was exactly for that reason. Zoning enforcement officers aren't disorderly conduct cops and things of that nature.
Don't you feel that, we've been talking about the conduct, because that's a obvious thing. But there are some things that I think should be absolute, such as, when you rent from, say, an Airbnb, you can check off what you want. Do you want an air conditioner? Do you want a smoke detector? What's the other, the CO2? So, to me, if we were ever gonna come up with an ordinance, if you wanna be a short-term rental person, you need to say that you have fire extinguishers there, you have smoke detectors. I don't know about the CO2 ones, but, you know, right? And because there's one way to look at it that there's people who get upset because they've got a noisy neighbor doing it, but look at the other side. We have a responsibility to protect whoever's in our town, right? Not just the people who live there. So thinking of the things that I check off when I go and stay in an Airbnb, I always say to myself, well, I mean, I can understand not having a washer or dryer, depending, but how could it be, how would you not check off a fire extinguisher and have a fire? I was in an Airbnb that caught all around us, all the lodges and everything were on fire. We didn't, but we had to get out. Was there an evacuation plan on the back of the door, you know, like in a hotel when they tell you where to go? No. So we went down the road because that was the only way out. So I think you don't think of those things when you do this. It's always fun. You're going away for the weekend or whatever. So if we ever get to the point of wanting to regulate and having, as we said, maybe a registration, right? That's something that could open the eyes of people who are letting others stay in their homes in a good way.
You notice what this legislation did not do? And I've had this discussion. What this legislation did not do, and Chris alluded to this in one of his emails to me, it did not give the fire marshal authority to inspect.
Right, and that's silly.
Fire marshal authority to inspect is statutory. It's under Title 29, and it's a life safety code. fire marshal has no jurisdiction based upon this ordinance. You need an administrator.
So the place would have to be on fire for the fire
That's
marshal.
right, it had to be after the fire, when the fire marshal comes on. So there's a lot of gaps in this
Yeah.
that, you know, obviously it was a brokered ordinance, or
And-
statute.
I don't know if you have, I was asking the mayor this a while ago, have we talked with anybody who is a provider of short-term rentals? There's
I have.
many kinds. I mean, Bob, you talked about the kind of thing. I mean, there's the guy who's got the little cottage in the back, or the one extra bedroom, or the whole house on the lake, because if you Google on Airbnb, you're gonna see some nice houses on our lake that are for rent, or, you know, short-term.
Mayor?
I spoke with two, I'll call them Airbnb people I know. They were concerned about it, about an ordinance, when I described what might happen. And then they told me that as an Airbnb, they're already put into a system that allows some of that kind of checkoff to occur. I'm surprised you haven't gotten any communication from either of them.
Yeah, I'm surprised that a host hasn't said anything.
Yeah, but I think if this thing elevated to an ordinance to go for a hearing, I think you might bring people out that would start to talk about it.
Right, someone's right.
I don't, they were kind of funny when, you know, when I said, you know, you might have to sign up and have inspections and all. I go, oh my God, you know, but I said, well, you're paying your taxes, your insurance. People want to make sure you're doing it right, blah, blah. So I thought you would get something, that was earlier this week. I don't know where it stands now. If it doesn't go forward, then it's moot. But if it does go forward, I think you'll see people starting to want to.
Tom, we would want to hear from them before we come up with an ordinance, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Now would be the time to hear from
Well, I
them.
mean, you can have, well, then you maybe should.
Well, I'd like to hear, anybody out there watching, I'd like to hear from them.
I think, Mayor, that's a great idea.
Well,
I think we set up
I'll ask those two people, and if they know others, they may want to
that'd be great.
get on
And they
the agenda.
regularly they host regularly, right? They have people come in?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I was surprised we didn't hear anybody. Well,
And
you're
it's-
in the know then.
It's not like my cottage, which
Right.
I do
Oh,
not
I see.
do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But they're serious Airbnbers.
Yeah, I think we want to hear from everybody.
Absolutely. Mary Jane?
Well, yeah, I have concerns about health and safety, people renting, you know? I mean, seriously, I mean, you hear about, you know, I don't know if it's probably happened here too, but people that go on vacation down to the Caribbean and they're dead. Carbon monoxide poisoning. No CO2
Well,
detectors.
interestingly, that is one of the things, you can choose what you want, and then
But
it
that
filters
shouldn't be
out.
an option. It should
Right.
be in every.
I'll tell you,
you know.
CO2 measure, you know, whatever you want to call it, when you put that in, say you had 50 choices, it comes down to be about 15 once you put that in. That's how few places have that, you know, state that they have
Yeah,
those.
I mean, that should be just,
I
those
know.
kind of things should be mandatory.
Well,
I
some of the
think,
places
you know.
that, you know, when you travel, you're not in a Connecticut, you're not
Right.
in a Milford, so you can't always have what that is.
I think the Airbnb is a thing.
An entity, yes.
But we're looking
One
at,
platform.
we're looking at the ones that are doing it that don't have any accreditation.
The Bob B&B, not you, but, you know, the real person rather than a big company, yeah.
So Randy, I think we could come up with some more of this stuff and maybe circle back at the next.
Yeah, I'd like some of your instructions as to what you want me to draft. Okay. And you might want to consider getting a consultant on board when setting this up.
Is there a precedence right now? Anything, any municipality is doing something that we're trying?
There's a lot of municipalities that have ordinances, but this came out, this is from your guideline, I think, came from CAMA, Connecticut Association of Municipal Attorneys, or KERMA. And, but there's a lot of ordinances out there, and they're kind of all over the place. But the best advice I can give you right now, and it's in the ordinance, it's in the statute, I should say, is to get somebody on board that will be able to administer this thing. Because I understand that there are hundreds of houses on the lake that are for.
But this hasn't been an issue. I must just say, like, we have not heard from any hosts who are up in arms that we've been talking about it, but I have asked the mayor, you know, has he gotten calls? And yes, he's gotten calls. Based upon the number of people that do this, it's been a small percentage.
Very small.
Very small. So I have to say, I hope we don't make a big mountain out of what is working okay now.
Well, that's your decision.
Right, yeah, I know, but just saying that I think it's a great idea that we could find a way to say, look, you want to do this, you want to have people rent your house, you got to have a fire extinguisher, you got to have a smoke detector, and it's actually the owner, again, the owners are the ones that we should reach out to. Maybe just tell the whole town,
But
this is what you're doing.
unfortunately, to do that, to enforce that, you gotta have the fire marshal give access, and we just heard we can't do that.
What?
Or we gotta hire somebody, which,
Right, or maybe you don't enforce it, maybe you just say that this is something that we would prefer that you do. I mean, maybe the insurance companies will wise up, and if a person hasn't bothered to do those, have an extinguisher in their house, you know. I don't know.
Mount Matamoly, when I talked to these people individually, I said, you know, it's only been 2 or 3 complaints. So I think, you know, it's not that people on the lake in the neighborhood are complaining, or people in Northville, or people in the downtown are saying this is going on all over. So I think there's a good point. You know, it's something to think about, see where it goes.
Right.
very
Right.
isolated instance.
And Randy, are there towns that have a specific person that manages these?
The big towns do, yeah. I don't know of anybody in Connecticut other than Darien or Greenwich.
So it's not a huge spread of it.
Oh, no. That statute just authorizes the towns to do that.
And what about
Doesn't-
fines?
That just happened.
Pardon me?
What about fines?
I would put fines in. We got a civil penalty ordinance. I'm doing that all over my towns now.
But then you're
Starting to
talking
find
about
people.
administrator, because that involves paperwork and,
My point is that who's gonna administer?
yeah.
If you do the
A
ordinance,
bureaucrat.
you may not want to do an ordinance, but.
We haven't heard from the other side, and that makes me think, what, you know, and we haven't heard from other people that are complaining, and I don't want you to come to do that, but if you want to. But I think it's.
So why don't we look at, doing a public meeting?
I think so.
Just to get the input from the
That's a good
public.
idea, and see who comes,
Yep.
and see who comes out, and hope that if you're a host out there, you know, you can come in and we won't identify you or whatever.
Like you mentioned, we did have one woman, which I understand, and she had a problem with it, but do we want to go through this whole process for one person?
That's what I'm saying.
We should,
Right. Solved by
obviously,
side.
right. Now you're talking about hiring an administrator, you're talking about fines, you're talking about all this on ordinance for one person who's unhappy, which I understand.
And the police
But-
were never called, were they?
No, apparently
No,
not.
yeah.
In fairness to her, she wanted to more or less have a zoning solution, which I will not, I don't care what anybody says, I don't care what her lawyer said, I don't recommend zoning get involved in this. I don't care what anybody says, I've been doing this for a while.
So let's
And,
think about that, Mayor. That's a good
So
idea.
again, that was a
So-
different paradigm.
Let's have a public
So let's have a
meeting.
public informational meeting.
It's a good idea.
So we have an option to do nothing.
Right.
Yes.
Maybe this conversation will bring forward some more people, or they can email anonymously.
Okay.
Did you want to set?
What's that?
We got limited time here,
Yeah,
folks. We
yeah,
got one more
let's-
agenda item.
Can we?
Do you
can
wanna
we
do it right now?
suspend- Yeah, can we suspend the rules?
I'd like to move that we suspend the rules to add an actionable item on 7A.
To set
7B.
set a
I'm
date
sorry.
for an
Yeah.
informational public
To
meeting.
set a
We have
date
second.
for, yeah.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. And then,
Okay. Pick a day. We have a public coming up in July,
let's see. Yeah, July 8th.
July 8th. We already have one. I'm sorry, I don't have a calendar in front of me. Would it be 8, would it be 7, would it be 15?
How about July 22nd?
How about it? Okay, July 22nd at
6:30?
Six-
Give at least a half an hour.
6:30 PM. Okay. So, you got that,
It's
Stephanie?
more than a month to get the word out.
Yep.
For people to come.
Yeah,
So we
and this
have
will
a-
be just a conversation, information.
Just
that
informational,
both-
getting
both
input from the public.
Yes, people who
Yep.
are hosts versus, and people who
Anybody
are
that wants to
stayers.
opine.
Absolutely,
So we have a motion, do we have a second?
right?
Second.
Any discussion, all's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, thank you.
Okay.
Next is the traffic study, Grove Street, as it pertains to possible traffic lights, Grove Street and Hine Hill, and we have Chuck here, who's been waiting patiently.
Someone wake up, Chuck.
Have you been
For-
patient over there, Chuck?
For
You
we
seem
did,
to be patient.
we did have the data before, let's start with the easier one,
Yeah.
which was Hine Hill.
Yeah,
So what's
okay.
everybody's thoughts on Hine Hill
Oh.
and a traffic light there?
So,
You know-
and just to recap, the
Yep.
recommendation from DPW is a light there, correct?
Correct.
Right. And
Yes.
I did get some feedback, if you want to hear about it, from community people who live in that area, and they said, okay, that's all great, but, you know, one of the things we heard a lot of was that the traffic on Grove Street is impossible for them to get in and out of where they live, in their driveway. And this is a question I was asked. So will this light make that any better?
It should. It should give you a gap.
Slow things down.
It should give you, once people are stopped, it'll give you a gap of space.
I don't, I'm not the, you're the guy, you're the expert, Chuck.
So yes, one side effect of a traffic signal would be a gap in traffic in whichever bound direction would release traffic. So we talked about this a couple weeks ago when we were here. There's 16,000 cars that travel that route per day on average.
How many? 6,000?
16,000.
So this is the most heavily traveled
Yep.
town road that New Milford owns. The traffic light, possibility would add a 3-second average delay to all that traffic. What it would do is add the safety factor of taking away decision-making from people coming out of either Hine Hill or Fordyce or both. One side effect of this would be to queue up traffic and then release. So there is the possibility of people leaving a driveway on Grove Street that would now see a better way to exit their home. Not have to worry about traffic in both directions at the same time for a certain amount of
And it'll
period.
slow the traffic down, is what I was trying to say to them, that, you won't feel that fear of pulling out, right?
There is that
It's slow.
side effect as well.
I thought you
yes.
said they do slow down. So are you talking about one light, or?
Well, we're gonna talk about the first
oh,
one.
okay.
Because we have some concerns about Fordyce.
Yeah.
So let's start with the one I think that the
Hine Hill.
majority of our,
Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that Hine Hill needs something, and if your recommendation is a light, I would go along with that.
So I have a question. We're going on the Hine Hill. It's 4 o'clock, Friday, rush hour. Everybody's taking that road because bridge is up to Yin Yang. Then what? And we got a roundabout right before that. We have a we have a trail, so people have to slow there. Now you get the light, and you're trying to beat that bridge, which is packed already. You're standing there for a half hour. Now we're putting light. I'm just saying. Now then what? What are the? And I'm taking that road, quite frankly. So then what? We're stuck for another hour in the direction we're going, right? I'm just saying.
There's nothing that we can do about the number of cars.
okay, so you made a motion for the light. Do we have a
I
second?
didn't even hear you say it.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor right now to direct the DPW to facilitate a light at Hine Hill for right now.
You were the second.
Just Hine Hill.
Just Hine Hill,
Chris,
right,
were you the
Tom?
second?
Just Hine Hill.
thought that was something that we all agreed upon.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
All right, so now we have a motion and a second. We have the discussion, so Sal?
That was the
Oh, okay.
question that I had.
But to get back to your question, I think, so why do people take Grove Street instead of go up Route 7, right? They think they could save time.
Well, it's the,
So the study shows it'll add, on average, 3 seconds to your commute, going Grove Street compared to Route 7.
3 seconds?
3 seconds.
Not
3 to 4.
That is not my experience. It's more
Not
than
my
that.
Well, it might be different
With-
on a
with the light.
Friday.
We're talking about rush hour.
Right, he's
About
talking
4 to
on
6.
average.
No, that's 6 seconds.
4 to 6. I don't think it's 2 seconds at all. I know what you're saying. Because I take that road and I go through the 4 lights too.
Right.
Because every morning I take those roads.
Well, the light doesn't create more traffic. The light just handles what's there. So yes, any given day of any given hour, the traffic flow will be different. The light's gonna work as it works. It's not gonna encourage people to use it or not. It's just gonna be
Well, you
there.
have to stop before the light, right? Because you have a right. So it's important.
But the way they're setting it up, that light is only gonna change when somebody's coming down High Hill.
It's I got it. It's a different discussion. I just drive it.
Sal, you're gonna be at the light on 67 anyway, so you're gonna be stuck.
Yeah,
Where you go?
I'm waiting for the Elon Musk to get those flying cars. That's what I'm waiting for. But I don't
Otherwise, we
have.
have to make this meeting longer. We did a study in 2013, and this is the same information. We're in 2024. Grove Street is, for that side of town, the main way to get north or south. So there's nothing you can say that's going to change that. It's not, you're not going to get more cars over there, but we need to make it safer. That means slow people down, and that means making it safer for people to pull out of Pine Hill and to also turn left to go up Pine Hill. So I think that there are a number of things that can be solved with this, and I really think we need to move on it, and I will support the motion to move ahead with a light.
Chuck, the cost, now, we might get to the second one, but we had a total of both.
We would direct DPW to apply for the lots grant,
Okay.
which would then,
Ideally, yes, we would seek funding through a grant opportunity, whether it's through Lots Up or any type of federal programs out there that would help with safety grants.
I just want to be
such as this.
prepared when it comes, not that
Yeah.
I don't think we should
And
do it. but-
as of right now, the cost estimates were roughly $630,000. That includes everything in the report.
Both lights.
Both lights
Right.
and other
Yeah.
various
Right,
factors.
and humps,
so-
which
so-
we're not gonna have.
Right. So you can split that in half generally. It depends on the technology we want as well. Obviously, we want to shorten the queue length. We want to
Correct.
decrease delays as much as possible. So the new technology, it's getting better every year, so.
Right.
Mayor?
I support the motion to put a light there at Hine Hill, but I want it with a proviso that it's not going to do anything for the safety on the north end of Grove Street for people backing out. We
That's
have to
right.
understand.
That's why I said, it's not really going to do anything to stop it.
Just a little bit. I mean, I've been watching
Oh,
since
my
this, the
gosh.
last few weeks, since this, and I've actually seen folks trying to back out. And the same description, people going around.
Or pull
If
out.
there was a split, if they had another 3 or 4 or 5 seconds to be able to get out, or 10 seconds, which I think a light
Well,
would
maybe a
delay,
sign that
it
says,
would make it
"Don't be a
little bit
bad
easier.
neighbor, let this
A
guy
little
out
bit
of his
easier, but
driveway," you know?
It's not gonna be, it's gonna be tough over there.
Well, you also have to remember, there's roads here too that people are pulling out.
All those interests, that's
So
what I
you
mean.
have 3 roads on that
Yeah,
side that people are
right.
pulling out, plus.
So for Hine Hill.
Yep,
There's
okay.
a motion and a second on the
Second.
floor
Yep.
to approve the installation of that
That
and then
traffic.
ask, right, DPW to seek
Correct.
federal or state financing.
Correct.
Okay.
Got it.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And we have one abstention. Okay. Next is Chuck Fordyce and Grove.
Yes, sir. Again, it was in the report, the consultants recommended one at Fordyce and Grove as well. There's definitely a more debate on this intersection because it's a much lower crash value on that. Still shows up on the heat map. If you look at the Yukon Crash Repository, it still shows up as one of, the hotter intersections in town.
Will they work together? Can they be made to work together so that what's happening up here on Hine Road has some semblance or vice versa of what's happening over here?
When a guy comes down Hine
Yeah.
Hill, the light changes.
They're not timed.
They're not trying to
Yeah, but
promote-
it's 2024. I thought maybe they were smart enough to talk to each other.
Is there technology out there to do that?
Yeah.
I'm sure there is, or it's coming. It's just a question of what would be the best
I
and
thought
what
you could
level
do it.
of cost do we want to invest in that, so.
One of the residents that was here the last time had a suggestion, and her suggestion is that they close, make it a cul-de-sac, and just, there's no entrance or exit to Grove Street.
Make one a cul-de-sac.
From,
To make Grove Street a cul-de-sac?
no,
Oh.
make the. Yeah, either right turn only,
Oh, yes,
or.
that's right. No
Right
left
turn
turn.
only, no left turn, or make it, close it off, and let people go a different direction to
Chuck,
get
well,
out.
I know you guys, that had been brought up, is what happens if that was going to be a right turn only Fordyce onto Grove?
So I don't have the data in front of me for Fordyce, how many cars make a left or a right. I know on Hind Hill coming down, 1,400 cars come out of there, make a left every day. So making that right turn only, where you're gonna push 1,400 cars. Fordyce, I'm sure is significantly lower. I don't have that number in front of me, but I'm sure it's 200 to 300 cars a day, if I had to guess right now, that now we're taking a right towards town. So you're gonna have to, budget that into the car counts, on Railroad Street, Bridge Street, or on Bridge Street going down towards the bridge.
Chris?
9:30. Make a motion to extend the meeting for 15 minutes.
Second.
Any discussion, all's in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Alex?
My question is, with regard to the applying for the grants, there are two separate grants, or you would apply one for both?
I don't know for sure how many are out there. We would seek as many as are willing to take our application.
If you were to apply for a grant that would cover both, but then ended up not using the one for the second one, you return the money. Is that would that be feasible?
During the design phase, I believe we have the opportunity to back off from 2 to 1.
Okay.
Yes.
Because what I was thinking was, I like the concept of the right turn only.
Right.
On our second choice. Hind Hill, I think a light may be the thing, but
But-
a right turn, to try it out, just to see what happens.
So, just to back up, to go from 2 to 1, I would caution that move, just because how do you say that you need it for safety and then all of a sudden you say you don't?
Got
The
it.
traffic studies are there, the signal water analysis is already done and complete. So I would
So the
stick with whatever
traffic's-
plan we decide to go forward with.
Got it. The traffic study is suggesting lights in both places.
The traffic study, correct.
They are? I didn't.
Tom and then Chris?
So, one thing that I don't know has come up in the discussion, but if you look at this intersection from Fordyce, so you're coming down Fordyce and you make a right. There was an old colonial house on the left-hand side that was there for many years that burned to the ground. Does everybody remember that?
I do.
Right, it was one of the biggest eyesores we had. That's a substantial piece of property, and I've been told that the guy who owns it, as we know, Mr. De Silva from Danbury, has approached one of the people on the side street, because that's his side entrance in, to develop that property into a condominium at some point. Now, I would much rather hang this intersection around his budget than our budget if this is going to happen soon, but I think it's something we need to consider, because at some point, it's a substantial piece of property. If you look at the Google Earth shop, it's enough for a substantial condo complex back there. And I know the guy who lives on Boswick, where the road comes down, he approached him and said, "I'll be making you an offer soon." I don't know if anybody else heard that, but I see that guy every time I go to Costco. He's one of our biggest fans. But I know there's an option, there's something coming there at some point that is going to have to be factored into this discussion, because it's literally right there at that point of that intersection. At Fordyce. When you come down the hill and you go right, there's that
hill goes long.
Right, but there's that big, right, and there's that empty, the lot where the house burned down.
Yeah, I got you.
Chris?
So, just to throw that in.
A couple things. So one, the right turn only, I think is a good idea in theory, but I don't know about you all, I know how many times I've sat at Young's Field and Bridge and seen people make a left going to Bun Bridge out of there. So I don't know how effective that would be. So Chuck, you and I had a conversation. I had the New Milford police data, accident data, and now I understand your heat map. And so there's not many accidents that's reported at that intersection, but close. It seems like there's many more.
Correct.
And I understand what the report said. Is your recommendation following the report that we should have a light there?
I think internally in engineering here, we base our decisions off, the data that comes in. Both intersections meet the signal warrant analysis. There is a heat map that shows both are susceptible to crashes of various types, angle crashes, side swipes, etc. Would they both benefit from traffic lights as a safety factor? I would say yes, they do, and I think our team would agree with that.
Okay. I sitting here as a council person, don't want to overrule our professionals who work for our town and who they've taken all the data and I have nothing that would say that I wouldn't go along with your recommendation.
There's no temporary way to, before you made that big jump to do it, there's no temporary way to do that, is there?
They do make temporary traffic signals. That hasn't been looked at. On Mariel, we're going to see it very shortly. There'll be a temporary traffic signal set up in action to see how they work. I personally have one near my house being set up now. So is it a possibility to temporarily try that?
Because that could be a big mistake, I think, if it didn't work out the way that, humans are in the mix here. So, I think it could be something we did.
So what happens to the people pulling out of their driveways on Grove Street? What are we going to do for them? That's going to make it a little safer for them, a little easier for them to get out. Is this going to help them in any way, shape, or form, or it's going to hinder them? At Fordyce.
Well, will it slow?
Adding
That's why I asked
traffic
that.
signals in and itself isn't there to calm traffic,
Right.
although it may have a side effect of that. It's not there to slow down traffic, although it may have a side effect of that. The only thing to make it safer would be for people to observe the speed limit, and enforcement would help people do that as well. We've seen that on Route 7. I believe the speeds have gone down, the incidents have gone down. The same type can be applied to Grove Street. Education, we're here speaking to the town residents through the internet right now, hoping that they will slow down.
Mary Jane, if there was no light when you come out of the parking lot with Big Y, everybody's going from down. If there was no light there, I would still be sitting there from 6 months ago.
Oh, yeah,
The fact
totally.
that there is a light allows even though the traffic is backed up, so I understand what those people are living through, because that's what happens every place there isn't a light. So the fact that the light stops people, they are still queuing, but they realize they have to wait. So there's usually somebody who says, go ahead, or I shoot a dirty look and I get out. But I think that it might help them. Like you say, it won't change anything about the traffic number.
Can I offer a better comparison
Right.
intersection? Have you ever tried to get out of CVS at rush hour?
Oh, forget
That's
it.
your comparison for
Yeah.
my driveway. When you put the
Oh,
traffic
you were
light.
one of the people on the
Yeah.
driveway,
Because the traffic light is up by the hospital and you can't get out of CVS and nobody lets you out and you have to wait forever. And
Can't
my
be going
driveway
to-
is going to be the same way. And I realize I'm one person and you're trying to please 16,000. But I will call you personally. I'd call the mayor first, but now that I know who you are and you're behind the decision, I'm going to call you every single morning and night when I can't get out. I'm sorry to have to say that on the record with the whole town having to listen to me.
But isn't that responsibility of the residents to let people in? Because we can't regulate every single road. I understand what you're saying, I can take that road
And
as well.
maybe if all of you, if you're one of the 16,000 traveling, and you let me out, then I will be very gracious to you.
I'm not
right?
faulting this, I'm
just
not
saying.
arguing, I'm just
Yeah.
saying,
It
it's gotta be
doesn't happen.
responsibility
It
of us.
We want to
So
be the
what's
greatest
the-
town in the USA, but it does not happen, sir.
So-
I'm sorry to say.
I'm not disagreeing with you, I'm just saying.
I'm sorry to stop you, we have a time limit. So, Chuck, quick question. What's the upside to going forward and saying, okay, let's get the Fordyce one too, or waiting? What do we do here? What's the plus and minus? Leave it with one at a time?
There would be no harm in putting one at Hine Hill first, adopting that in, seeing how that works out traffic-wise, see if there is a benefit down the road
Cost
at
could go up.
Fordyce. Down the road
cost will go
cost,
up.
there's
Cost will
escalation
go
to talk
up.
about, correct? There's a good possibility of that,
It's true.
so.
Chuck, what was the, give me the volume on Hine coming out and out of Fordyce coming out. You said 200 a day or 400 a day?
300.
Out of
Out of
Fordyce. No.
Coming out,
Out of
taking a
Fordyce.
left out of Hine Hill, I believe was 1,420.
Right, 1,400
But that was
people.
just taking a left, that was not, I don't,
That's not
Total
all the
traffic.
traffic.
yeah.
No,
I'm just talking about the Fordyce.
it's 4 million, all the traffic.
Yeah.
I don't know if I brought
Chris,
the
you have
entire
the
breakdown.
statistics on how many accidents were at the intersection?
So at the intersection of Fordyce, over 3 years, there were 4 accidents. But, and that's why Chuck and I had a conversation. We were trying to.
Because there were two different statistics.
There was 2 different,
Yeah.
and so he's using this heat map, which shows not just on the intersection, but maybe a little bit north and a little bit south of it, which shows in that area, general area,
Right, right.
it's, but the intersection itself was not a lot.
I think I would just be in favor of the Hine Hill and wait and see as opposed to overkill and putting 2
I agree.
at the intersection.
Yeah, maybe
for now.
maybe give it some thought, Chuck,
Right.
to the temporary, once we get the Hine Hill thing going. Because there's a lot of people who come down that road, and I don't think we want to upset everybody. We have this poor lady over here and her neighbor's upset as it is.
And we were just
Try
talking
one
about
thing
driveways.
first.
If you put one at Fordyce, there's more driveways at that portion of the road than there is at Hine Hill. So
Right.
if you do have a stoppage in traffic, then you're really blocking a lot of people.
The other thing to consider is I have not seen anybody here at these meetings, I don't think they're aware of it, from the club gym. Those business owners, I don't think they're even aware that this is a discussion item. I feel like Fordyce would be more of a, like when you get a zoning change and you gotta inform all the neighbors of something happening, to maybe notify everybody within a certain range and have them come and speak to you, like a public forum, like you suggested for the short-term rentals. I think that would be a fair way to do that one. And I do think we're gonna get residual benefit from the up the road, which might help out the whole Anderson, Fordyce, area.
So should we go with one?
I'm in favor of using our professionals and a traffic study, which we now have for this road, to make the decision. Because I really feel that we are not engineers, we are not traffic people. You said it. We are, and I propose that maybe one at a time, just to see if it works. But Hine Hill would be first.
Right.
I don't know, he's just looking at me like,
We're just telling him, we're just
Right,
voting, it's us.
So Chuck, you got about 4 minutes.
You don't need to convince me.
yeah, but
Just bring us the
we're
venue.
100% relying on your expertise, really. We should be.
Want to make a motion to hold
Well,
off
thank
on
you.
it?
There's data out there that shows there's crashes, right? And where can we minimize it? Hine Hill, I think we all agree that's red. That's red on the heat map, there's no
Right.
doubt.
That's
That's
the
up
red-
there with
that's the
some spots
biggest-
on Route 7
Yeah.
and Bridge Street, so it's
Okay.
red. Is Fordyce red? It's not red.
Gotcha. Right.
Again, I
There you
spoke to
go.
Councilor Cosgrove earlier today, yes, there's some discrepancies between the Yukon Crash Repository and what Milford PD is saying. It could be just a GPS error on the reporting form, it could not be, and who's right and who's wrong, I don't know exactly for sure.
So I have a sense from the council, we're gonna hold off on
Yeah.
Fordyce for now.
And Chuck,
assess
it sounds like you're
Could
okay
we-
with that?
And assess it.
It sounds like
I would
you're
be willing to say that's a good approach, to start with this for now, keeping that, in the back of our minds, that it's a possibility we may have to do that as well, if nothing changes.
And would you have some public outreach? I mean, if we say yes and this goes forward, is there some way, as this resident just pointed out, there's a lot of people there who have no idea what's going on in this room.
Yeah.
If only they knew, but.
No,
That's a good point.
It is a
And
good
let's keep
point.
in mind that property potentially is going to be developed. Right. There, so that is going to change the look of that intersection a bit.
So doing one
So we're only gonna do, as of right now, only the one.
Mm-hmm. And
And
let's
then,
get some,
Chuck, we can see about Lotzip or whatever.
let's get some info out there.
And then,
Very well.
okay.
So.
All right, do we have a motion to?
No, hold it. We didn't vote on this yet.
We voted on the light. We voted on the
Oh,
light.
I'm sorry. I thought we didn't do it yet. Okay.
We voted on it, right? Okay.
That's right. Okay,
Yep.
yep, right.
Yep.
Voted on the motion for.
Okay.
And we have a motion to adjourn, right?
There you go.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, everybody.
Happy Father's Day to the dads here. Thank you, Ray. Appreciate it.